Chapter 1238, One Fist Superman Skill. Chapter 1238, One Fist Superman Skill. Long Fei said, "Are you really not coming with me?" Queen of Blood Moon's face was filled with reluctance as he said, "I still have a little while before I can break through to leave this place, so, husband, if you want to come visit me often." Long Fei laughed. "Don't worry, I will definitely come." And then, the Queen of Blood Moon's fingertip moved, gently pressing against Long Fei's forehead. The crescent mark between her eyebrows flashed with a red light, and also at this moment, ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Blood Moon Sacred Art. Do you wish to fuse it? Huh. Long Fei trembled and said, "This is your sacred art's power. Why are you—" Queen of Blood Moon smiled happily. "You are the true power of my sacred art. Everything I do is yours, including my life." What does a mere Blood Moon spell count for? This was the power of dozens of years of cultivation. He gave it without hesitation. Long Fei did not know that if he had known, he would not have wanted it at all. It was only because Queen of Blood Moon knew about this that he was able to suddenly pass the power of the sacred art to Long Fei. Long Fei was grateful in his heart as he hugged Queen of Blood Moon and kissed him. Queen of Blood Moon's body went soft and became hot once again. His body started to exude an enchanting aura, and the primal energy beneath Long Fei started to stir. However, today was the auction, so Long Fei had to hurry back. Following that, Long Fei whispered into Queen of Blood Moon's ear, "Wait for me, I will come back to find you." Finished, Long Fei landed on the fire unicorn's back and said, "Return to Lien Yu Castle." The fire unicorn whizzed and instantly disappeared into the horizon. Queen of Blood Moon looked at the flames which had disappeared in the sky and muttered, "Husband, you have to come back." Immediately, the look in Queen of Blood Moon's eyes became resolute, and he thought to himself, "No way, I need to break through as soon as possible and try my best to fly with my husband in pairs." 3 days. In these 3 dreamlike days, even when Long Fei recalled it again, he felt like he was dreaming. If one considered it to be pa, then Queen of Blood Moon was his second woman. It was the longest and the most satisfying time. Queen of Blood Moon. Long Fei thought, "I will definitely come back." It was also at this time Long Fei opened up the system to check on the Blood Moon Divine art that the Queen of Blood Moon had given him. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for combining Blood Moon Divine Art for obtaining 100 experience points, 100 Holy Source points, and a special 100 points reward. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Queen of Blood Moon's mark. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for triggering his partner's system. Partner system population. 1. Queen of Blood Moon. System description. The more partners a player had, the less experience they would need to level up, and the more demon beast experience they would gain. Looking at the description, Long Fei was startled. He smiled sinisterly. "Isn't this the same as telling me to open the 3,000 inner palaces?" "I like it. I have to find a way to summon all of the gods' martial continent's women here. How do I activate the gods' martial sex guild? Only when the gods' martial sex guild is activated is it possible for Long Fei to summon the guild's level increase, which is to say, summon all of the guild's members to the Chaos Realm. In order to level up quickly, we have to summon them all. And if the Chaos Realm still walks the path of the gods' martial continent, then I won't be happy. I want to fight for hegemony. I want to let my brothers dominate my Chaos Realm. I want to enter my ancient holy battlefield. I want to bring all of my brothers in." This was what Long Fei wanted to do. It was impossible to not have the support of an influential power in the Chaos Realm. It could be said that every step he took was difficult. Any power could swallow you up. In the gods' martial continent, you could be a rogue cultivator, but in the chaos realm, it was not possible to be alone. One had to have a strong power backing them. So it would be better to create a strong power by oneself. The opening of the association was inevitable. Long Fei stopped his thoughts and turned to look at the energy that he had just absorbed from the Blood Moon divine art. He realized that the energy had not fused into his body and was instead absorbed by a technique. Moon Break. At the beginning, Long Fei could not train in this technique, but now it was glowing with a red light, and it had become a Blood Moon Punch instead of Moon Splitting Strike. These were not what Long Fei was concerned with. He only cared about one thing. Could he cultivate it? His current cultivation technique was a little lacking. Long Fei moved. Cultivate. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining 100 experience points for training Blood Moon Punch. 100 points, 100 special rewards for training Holy Source. Skill path, Blood Moon Punch, available to be upgraded. Level, Explosive God Damage, Destroyed Consumption. 100,000 Holy Source points description. This cultivation technique only has one move destroyed. Damn. What is this? Destroying with one move. Is this the power of a superhuman punch? Long Fei muttered, seeing the 100,000 Holy Source S being exhausted. Long Fei's heart trembled again, and he said, 100,000 Holy Source S, do you King know that I just happened to have 100,000 Holy Source S? Exhausted all of the Holy Source. In exchange for this destructive power, if it's a fist with superhuman strength, a fist that can exterminate the spirit, then I, your father, am rich. Long Fei was excited. One punch was enough to destroy them like a main gun. With a single move, he was instantly killed, just like that. However, when Long Fei saw the word upgradable after the name of the technique, his heart became even more excited. He felt more and more that this was just a punch among a fist of Superman. No matter how strong, a punch will determine life and death. Ha ha ha. Now, we have something to play with. Long Fei's mouth hooked up as the idea said to the fire unicorn, quickly, hurry to the auction. What should we do? Long Fei still hasn't returned. Seems like Chu Chongkong did not dare to think about what had happened to Long Fei, but at this time, he could not control himself from thinking about such things. Until now, Long Fei's figure still could not be seen. What did this mean? Did he escape? The only possibility was that something had happened to Long Fei. There were many people who were eyeing Long Fei covetously in the Lien Yu Castle, such as the Bounty Gate S, the 10,000 Alliance Sect, the Hell Gate S, and even the Divine Might King Manor. Anyone could kill Long Fei. These powers were simply too powerful. If they were to make a move, Long Fei would simply be unable to resist them. Another possibility was that Long Fei had died in Ghost's Cave, while Chu Chongkong was feeling anxious. The people from the Bounty Gate were anxious as well. Why can't I see the target? It was the same for the disciples of the One, True Union. They were all waiting for Long Fei's appearance. Not only was this auction for the Xiao Yao Business Alliance, but it was also the killing of Long Fei by the Bounty Gate, Hell Gate, and Myriad Alliance Sect. They were all waiting for Long Fei to appear. Long Fei's life would not be spared today. Chapter 1239, Great Bet. Chapter 1239, Great Bet. The auspicious hour arrived. The auction began. Chiu Ho walked up the stage with a professional smile on his face and said humbly, "Guests, before the auction started, our Xiao Yao Business Alliance had prepared a small performance. We, the young master of martial prowess mansion of the Divine Might King Manor, will battle against the newcomers recommended by the Master Tsang Long and Elder Chu Chongkong. As for the names of the newcomers, I don't know. Chiho smiled faintly and said, however, a nameless junior will soon become a dead man. We do not need to know his name. He mocked directly. He didn't leave any face at all. The entire venue was in an uproar. Someone recommended by Tsonglong Emperor's chief alchemist. Tsonglong? Then what is the background of this kid? Master Tsonglong is an alchemist, but the person he recommended is a martial artist? What the heck is this? I guess it's just a joke. Yeah. Many people started whispering to each other. Basically, they did not think highly of Long Fei, because many people knew about the talent of the young master of martial prowess mansion. It was extremely difficult for the top geniuses of the young generation to have a match for him. In the room, Chu Chongkong's face darkened. The Azure Dragon's expression turned sinister as he coldly said 2 words, Chiho. He had to be ruthless when stepping on people. Chiho tried his best. This time, he was determined to make Chu Chongkong lose all face and even pull the Azure Dragon down. Otherwise, just stepping on Chu Chongkong would not be enough. Niu Dashin shouted, What do you mean an unknown junior? He clearly knew his boss's name. And who will die immediately? This person is too arrogant. I'm not in a good mood. Hearing the discussions below, Chiho was extremely satisfied and said, Master Tsonglong and Elder Chu Chongkong have recommended him together. This person must be very impressive, right? I heard that he is already cultivated to the purple realm. As soon as he finished, the audience roared with laughter. Purple realm? Young master of martial prowess mansion was already a spirit-level peak realm a few hundred years ago, and you still dare to challenge young master of martial prowess mansion? Is he really a newbie recommended by the master Tsonglong? Is this person stupid? All sorts of mocking laughter rang out. Niu Dashin was so angry that he was about to break out of the room, but he was stopped by Chu Chongkong. You mean my boss? What the hell is he? Is he worthy of belittling my boss? Niu Dashin's breath was spitting fire. He wanted to pinch Chiho to death. The other people in the room all had unsightly expressions, as they were all holding back their rage. However, if Long Fei did not appear, there was nothing they could do. Furthermore, even if Long Fei appears, Chu Chongkong will do his best to stop this competition, because Long Fei will lose, so he cannot possibly be a match for young master of martial prowess mansion in the Sun rank. How could the Purple Realm be a match for someone in the Sun rank? Long Fei was very important. He had to live. Cut the crap. If you want to fight, then hurry up. Don't waste everyone's time. We are here to buy things, not to watch the competition. From high up in the stands, the celestial spirit shouted out. Many people also responded. Chiho immediately said, Everyone, don't be in such a hurry. The auction will naturally be held, and other than the competition, everyone can place a bet as well. I'll be the banker. The expert recommended by Master Tsonglong. As for the odds, it's 1-5. The young master of martial prowess mansion is 1. The unknown expert is 5. Everyone bet. Everyone accept. In addition, if the expert recommended by Master Tsonglong loses the competition, Clan Elder Chu Chongkong would have to apologize to young master of martial prowess mansion in front of everyone. At this moment, the Azure Dragon couldn't help but fiercely pull open the curtain and shouted, Chiho, what are you trying to say? Everyone looked over. Many people were shocked. It's really the Master Tsonglong. It's really him. He really came, top alchemist in Chaos Realm, the idol of countless alchemy users. Chiho laughed. It's nothing. I'm just trying to make the auction more interesting. Master Tsonglong, you can bet too. Cluck, cluck. The Azure Dragon tightly clenched his fists, his joints cracked, and his anger surged. The audience was in an uproar. Master Tsonglong, Is he really a new disciple that you have recommended? Is he a genius of alchemy? Master Long, where is that newbie? The Azure Dragon was unable to reply. Chiu-Ho's face became even more pleased, his voice became heavy, and he suppressed down all the voices. Master Long did not refute. That means that Nameless Jr. was recommended by him. Everyone hurry up and bet. He might even be able to win quite a few profound stones. The atmosphere was stirred up by Chiu-Ho. Next, many people began to place their bets. 100 profound stones bet on young master of martial prowess mansion winning. I will pay 300 profound stones. I have 1,000 profound stones. I bet 10,000 on young master of martial prowess mansion S with profound stones. Basically, all of them were betting on young master of martial prowess mansion's victory, thinking that everyone knew that it was impossible for young master of martial prowess mansion to lose. So young master of martial prowess mansion revealed a complacent smile. In 3 days, his cultivation had broken through to the Sun Realm, and now he could easily squash Long Fei. Moreover, he thought of a method to deal with the paralyzed ring. Young master of martial prowess mansion sneered in his heart, "Brat, if you dare come here today, you will die here." Amongst the crowd, Fat Men Chen asked softly, "Should we bet?" A lot of people bet on that young master of martial prowess mansion, or whatever. Should we try our luck? 1, 5. What if I win and I earn big? The celestial spirit muttered, "We don't have much money left." Fat Men Chen softly, "Oh," and did not speak anymore. The celestial spirit gritted its teeth and said, "Fuck, we're going to rob them anyway. We're going to throw caution to the wind. I bet 10 Xian crystal S that Nameless Brat will win." As soon as he finished speaking, everyone looked at him. Chiu-Ho's mouth curved into a smile, and he blossomed with a smile as he said, "This little brother, do you have that many Xian crystal S?" The man snorted, "Bullsh *T." With a flip of his right hand, 10 Xian crystal flew out and landed in front of Chiu-Ho. Everyone was startled. Such a strong force to control one's chi. Chiu-Ho's face also changed slightly. He kept the 10 Xian crystal S, letting them open a bill, and asked, "Anyone else betting?" "If no one is betting, then the match will begin," Neo Dashin said. "The boss is not here, but the situation cannot be lost. I will bet everything on it." "How much?" Neo Dashin scratched his head and said, 1 profound stone. Yang Yu's face sank and instantly stopped Neo Dashin. Chiu-Ho smiled. "No one bet, right? Since no one has placed their bets, then the competition shall begin." At this moment, the auction's VIP entrance opened. A person stood at the entrance as the strong light shone in. He looked down and asked, "Excuse me, are you willing to take all the bets?" Chiu-Ho said, "Young master of martial prowess mansion's bets are full. That Nameless Jr.'s bets are not limited to even the upper limit." While he was speaking, the person slowly walked in and said, "Sure, then let's play a little. I bet 50,000 Xian crystal. I bet on myself to win." Chapter 1240, Come on stage and die. Chapter 1240, Come on stage and die. I bet on myself. Victory. As soon as his voice faded, Long Fei's appearance was also seen clearly by everyone in the auction venue. Chiu-Ho recognized Long Fei at a glance. His eyes shook as he laughed out loud. "I never thought that you would actually be back." There was shock in the laughter. The killer that he sent out was powerful. He was actually unable to stop Long Fei. Long Fei also laughed. "I'm back, you old dog, and your master must be very disappointed, right?" Chiu-Ho's eyes opened wide and shouted, "Kid, who are you calling an old dog?" Long Fei's finger moved as he pointed at Chiu-Ho's nose and asked, "You, who else could it be?" Chiu-Ho's eyes darkened, anger burst out, and he shouted, "Men, seize him." At this moment, Chu Chongkong slowly walked out and said, "Wait." When Long Fei returned, he was the happiest person there, and there was no need to worry anymore. And furthermore, today's auction was very special, so special that even he did not know how many peak powerhouse were hidden inside. Moreover, today's auction was not about Chiu-Ho's spirit treasure being the main character, but the elixir. Long Fei was the owner of the elixir. He was extremely important. Chiu-Ho raised his eyes slightly and said coldly, "Chu Changkong, do you dare to stop me?" Chu Changkong smiled faintly and said, "How could I dare to stop you when your elder Chiu has something to do? I just came out to remind you that he has the diamond invitation. If you want to touch him, you have to consider whether or not your own weight is enough." To put it simply, it was as though a powerful pressure was crushing down. Chiu-Ho had heard of this matter before, but he thought that Chu Changkong was acting. However, in this kind of public environment, Chu Changkong did not have that much guts. Could it be? Is he really special? Chiu-Ho was shocked. At this time, he wasn't the only one who was shocked in the auction. Many people were incomparably shocked. Diamond invitation. This meant that the person's status was special and precious, and ordinary people simply didn't have the qualifications. The people of Hellgate, the people of Bounty Gate, and the people of 10,000 Alliance were all shocked in their hearts. Even if Long Fei was once of Hellgate, it was impossible for Xiao Yao Business Alliance to give him a diamond invitation card. What happened? Fat Mention muttered. Who is this person? So cool? To think that there would be an invitation for a diamond. If ordinary invitation card were powerful, wouldn't that diamond invitation card be heaven-defying? The heavenly spirit shrugged. Who knows who he is? He should be a descendant of some powerful powerhouse. Aoya glanced at the distant Long Fei. The four of them had no idea that it was actually Long Fei. Their appearances had all changed. How could they possibly recognize a completely different person? Chiu-Ho's eyes darkened, and he said coldly, "Chu Changkong, you gave out the diamond invitation card without permission. I will definitely tell headquarters about this matter." The identity of the diamond invitation card was precious, and he could not move against it. This was the rule of Xiao Yao Business Alliance. Chu Changkong laughed. "You can go and complain now. It's not your first time anyway. If you have the ability, you can do it now." Chiu-Ho coldly snorted and said, "I will go, but not now. I'm still waiting for the show." "Kid, bet 50,000 Xian crystal wins." "Fine, I'll accept it. But can you take out 50,000 Xian crystal? Just with a diamond invitation card like you. You have to take out the money." Chiu-Ho heavily disdained. Young master of martial prowess mansion mocked. 50,000 Xian crystal. Do you King know how many 50,000 of them are? A country bumpkin shouldn't be showing off here. 50,000 Xian crystal. This was an extremely large number. Even a first-rate family would not be able to take out this many Xian crystal. It was even more impossible for him to obtain a pill that he had only been in the chaos realm for a few months. However, Long Fei was not an ordinary person. He could not take out 50,000 Xian crystal, but he did have a lot of items that were of equal value. Just as Long Fei was talking, Master Tsang Long said, "I will be wagering my 50,000 Xian crystal. This is my gold card. There are 50,000 Xian crystal inside." While speaking, Master Tsang Long threw the gold card out. He didn't even blink. 50,000 Xian crystal S without blinking? How grand was this? Everyone was shocked. Tsang Long. "Oh, Tsang Long, this money must be all that you have left. Today, I'll let you become a pauper. If you don't have this money, I'll see where the spirit grass S of your alchemy will come from." Long Fei looked at the Master Tsang Long at the private box's window and said, "Thank you, big brother Tsang." Brothers' greetings? Many people were shocked in their hearts. The Azure Dragon was not proud at all. Instead, he was very humble. His posture was very low and revealed a smile. "You're too polite. What is this little money to you?" Chu Changkong muttered. "So what?" Is this the money Tsanglan Emperor gave you to predict the future of alchemy? If you lose, I want to see how you will report your loss to the Tsanglan Emperor. A smile hung on the Azure Dragon's face, and cold sweat covered his back, even though the center of his palm. If Long Fei lost, it would be as Chu Changkong had said. He really couldn't account for it. However, Song Long still remained stubborn. I can't stand Long Fei's scene. He's my sworn brother, so even if he loses, I have to support him. Besides, Long Fei still had an elixir to auction. How much was this elixir worth? It must be a lot more than 50,000 Xian crystal. Master Tsang Long was not worried. Chiu Ho laughed and said, "Since Master Tsang Long is willing to pay, then everything is fine." Seems like the Master Tsang Long views this kid very highly. Such a huge sum, but maybe you still don't know, but young Master of Martial Prowess Mansion has already broken through the Sun rank, and your 50,000 Xian crystal S. I thank you. As soon as he finished, Master Tsang Long's brows shook as he thought to himself, the news is indeed true. Sun rank. Young Master of Martial Prowess Mansion's talent is really amazing. This time, this kid is even less of an opponent. Ha ha ha. I just bet 3,000 profound stones on young Master of Martial Prowess Mansion to win. Looks like I can earn a lot. Qin Tianfei looked depressed and said, Tianling, we've lost miserably this time. 10 Xian crystal, all our savings, we're done for now. I'm going to starve again. The same was true for the Sky Spirit. Damn, I was tricked by this slut. I should have revealed their cultivation levels earlier. Sun Realm, what the heck are you doing now? The four King Kong were all stunned. This was a gamble that he had to lose. If one were to fight a purple realm at the Sun rank realm, just the difference in level alone was more than 10 or 20 levels. How could one fight a completely crushed existence? It's over, it's all over. My 10 Xian crystal. The Sky Spirit wanted to cry, but had no tears. At this moment, young Master of Martial Prowess Mansion instantly jumped onto the stage, the sword in his hand pointed. He pointed at Long Fei and said, "Kid, come up and die." Chapter 1241, Explosive Punch. Chapter 1241, Explosive Punch. Chu Changkong frowned. The Sun rank young Master of Martial Prowess Mansion was even holding a sword. What did this mean? This meant that Long Fei might not be able to unleash his numbing power. So this meant that he had no hope left. At this moment, Chu Changkong looked at Long Fei and said, "If you don't want to die from being forced, no one can force you." Chiu Ho immediately asked, "Chu Changkong, what do you mean by that?" Chu Changkong ignored him and looked at Long Fei instead. Chiu Ho laughed coldly. "Retreat? Ha ha ha. Chu Changkong, if that's the case, then even if he loses, you must apologize to the young Master of Martial Prowess Mansion in front of everyone." Chu Changkong did not care about all these. Even if he was going to die, he wouldn't even frown. What was an apology? Right now, he only cared about Long Fei's life. Many powerhouses were watching as they waited for Long Fei to arrive. Long Fei said, slightly, "Big Brother Chu, do not need to worry. Some people like to be despicable. If you do not give him a slap on the face, he will continuously fly in front of you like a fly. The best way to deal with such a despicable person is to kill him with a slap." Finished, Long Fei slowly walked up the stage. Young Master of Martial Prowess Mansion sneered, "Country bumpkin, I thought you had escaped. I didn't think that you would really dare to come. That's great. I want you to kneel in front of me in front of everyone. Ha ha ha." Long Fei said coldly, "Are you done talking blind? Can we start?" Young Master of Martial Prowess Mansion's gaze turned cold. His eyes were filled with killing intent. The power of his sun rank cultivation instantly burst forth, and he shouted, prepare to kneel down." As soon as he finished, the young master of martial prowess mansion's long sword cut through the air. His figure was like 1,000 layers of illusions, directly sealing the entire auction stage. Myriad transformations, myriad illusions. Peak grade 9 sword technique. This sword art, I can't defend at all. This kid is dead for sure. The young master of martial prowess mansion is indeed the young master of martial prowess mansion, to actually be able to cultivate the infinite change sword art to such an extraordinary stage. Forget about the purple realm, even people with a higher cultivation level might not be able to withstand it. Chu Chongkong frowned deeply. The azure dragon's fists were clenched tightly, even his palms were wet. Nyo Dashin was the same, his mouth agape as he looked at the stage, and thought to himself, "Boss, you can do it." Yang Yu and Yang Wanu were also extremely worried. The guests around the auction were all watching with expressions of watching a show, and most of them thought that Long Fei was about to die, and that he would not be able to stop young master of martial prowess mansion's sword technique. This sacred art, not bad. At least it can be considered an intermediate level divine ability. Crack, clang. Long Fei's fist was unstoppable as it collided heavily against the long sword. The speed was too fast, and the strength was too strong, as though thousands of tons of strength had suddenly roared at him, causing him to be caught off guard and unable to react at all. Young master of martial prowess mansion's pupils suddenly shrank as he roared loudly. He punched out. Long Fei's figure moved. Rumble! With a loud muffled sound. Long Fei's body passed through young master of martial prowess mansion's body, his fist dripping with blood. Drip, drip. This was the only sound left in the entire auction. Suddenly, with a PU sound, young master of martial prowess mansion spat out a mouthful of black blood. His body trembled as he said in a heavy tone, "Country bumpkin, you're not my opponent at all. You won't be able to beat me. You—" Long Fei sneered. "Don't be AF asterisk king. Be asterisk starred." While they were talking, Long Fei slowly turned around, and his gaze sank as he said, "Explode for me." Boom. Blood slowly flowed out from the top of young master of martial prowess mansion's head as Long Fei said the word, "Explode." When his blood volume fell to the ground, it immediately turned into 0, and his body swayed a few times. Bam. He fell to the ground. One punch, one instant kill. Blood Moon Punch. The power of one punch in Superman mode. A critical hit of 100,000 holy source points. One punch determined life and death. This feeling, so cool, as if it had exploded. Long Fei was extremely excited in his heart. This is only a first-grade Blood Moon Punch. If I bring out the level increase, it will definitely become one of the Punch Superman punches and die with one punch. It was also at this time. Everyone was shocked. He was scared stiff by this sudden scene. The master of martial prowess mansion was furious, but the killing intent was strong. Chapter 1242. 3 seconds Sun Wukong possession. Chapter 1242. 3 seconds Sun Wukong possession. It was too fast. It was so fast that everyone thought they were seeing things. If not for young master of martial prowess mansion lying on the ground, they would have truly thought that it was an illusion. How is this possible? Chioho's voice was trembling, his legs were growing weak, and his mind was spinning. He couldn't figure out what had just happened. What had happened? When everyone was still in shock, the master of martial prowess mansion's murderous aura soared to the sky. He jumped from his seat and flew straight to Xiang Longfei. He struck the top of Xiang Longfei's head with a palm. How powerful was the master of martial prowess mansion? A super powerhouse of the star realm, not to mention Long Fei, who was currently without a holy source. Even if he had enough value, he still wouldn't be a match for him. Give me back my life. The master of martial prowess mansion's pressure continued to crush him like an avalanche. Long Fei's heart suddenly sank as though it was about to crack, and felt incomparable discomfort. The situation went out of control. Many of the women screamed out, "Oh, my God! It's over, it's all over. He's dead for sure." Nyo Dashin roared, boom. The king bull's blood erupted like a mad bull charging down. It pounced towards master of martial prowess mansion's back and shouted, "Boss, run!" The azure dragon roared, "Master of martial prowess mansion, you dare?" Chu Chongkong's face turned pale white. Everything happened too fast. So fast that it was hard to predict what would happen in the next second. Demon Ox's speed was just too slow. The furious master of martial prowess mansion did not care about anything. He only wanted to kill Long Fei. The pain of losing a son was heartbreaking. He was just a son, yet he could do nothing but watch him die in front of him. This sort of feeling only made him even more infuriated. Long Fei must die. Give me your life. After throwing out that palm attack, Long Fei stood in place without being able to move at all. The feeling of his fate in someone else's hands was extremely difficult to bear. Unhappy, he felt extremely displeased. This unhappiness was linked to the golden cudgel, and a sharp light flashed across the eyes of the monkey inside the golden cudgel at that moment. The system suddenly sounded out. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining 3 seconds of Sun Wukong possession power. Do you want to start? At the same time, the energy values that the golden cudgel absorbed disappeared. The power of 2 ancient spiritual artifacts was exchanged for 3 seconds. This, Long Fei secretly clicked his tongue, at this time caring about the Motherf Ker's death setting the house on fire. If someone wanted to kill him, then he had to do it, and angrily roared in his heart, "Activate!" Buzz. With the fall of the idea, the strong power of the golden cudgel was activated. "I, old son, am here as well." A voice rang out from within Long Fei's body. This voice was extremely familiar. It was the voice of the great sacred Sun Wukong of the Sky Spill, and his power was activated within Long Fei's body. Long Fei clenched his right hand. Boom! The golden cudgel landed in his hands. His eyes flashed with fire. The power of a Samisen true fire. "You want me to die? Then let's see who the F***K dies today." Long Fei roared in anger. He grabbed the golden cudgel and smashed down with his staff. This was not Long Fei's power. It was the power of the Sun Wukong. This was the power of a great saint. With this one staff strike, all of his strength was thrown out. Boom, 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 boom. The air exploded. With an unstoppable force, master of martial prowess mansion's pressure instantly turned into dust. When the golden cudgel descended, master of martial prowess mansion's body sank, and his face suddenly changed. He wanted to dodge, but it was too late. He could only endure. Master of martial prowess mansion's body flashed with a golden light as a powerful defense was released. However, in front of the power of the Sun Wukong, all of his defensive powers were like paper tigers. Boom! Instantly, immediately after, master of martial prowess mansion fell to the ground with a loud thud. A long line of blood appeared above his head. Puffed. Blood spurted out wildly from his wounds. His body was breaking apart, piece by piece. Bam! Fresh blood shot out like strands of silk. His whole person was dead. A one-hit kill. Long Fei's gaze swept across the entire area, and in the end, stared at Xiao Ho. The golden cudgel in his hand shook violently. "Wow!" A halo of energy shot out. Long Fei shouted, "Who else? I'm only going to ask one question. Who else can it be?" His voice crushed the entire audience. Xiao Ho could not withstand the pressure and knelt onto the ground with a thump. His body trembled, and his face became as pale as paper. unable to say a single word. The power that erupted from Long Fei's body was simply too terrifying, an indescribable terror. The whole place was shaken. No one dared to breathe too loudly. Their minds were crushed, and their sea of consciousness was crushed as well. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Master of Martial Prowess Mansion for obtaining 800,000 experience, 100,000 Holy Source points, and 10 energy values points. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Golden Shield. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Mighty Blood Vein. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining 10,000 Xian Crystal. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for leveling up, currently at Spirit Level 7. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining the upgrade reward. The reward is the ancient spiritual treasure's dragon subduing rod. Ding. The ancient spiritual treasure's golden shield has been absorbed. The golden cudgel's energy will be filled up layer by layer. Ding. The dragon subduing rod has been absorbed. The golden cudgel's energy will be filled up layer by layer. The system beep continued to ring. At this time, ding. 3 seconds. Sun Wukong possession time is over. 3 seconds. The time left was too short. It was so short that Long Fei didn't even have time to properly experience his strength before he was done for. Let me have some fun too. 3 seconds, it's too short. I'll shoot in a second. Long Fei muttered in his heart. He was extremely excited. The power that he could absorb in 3 seconds was invincible. Now, he was even more certain that the power of the second level of main artifact must be from the Sun Wukong. When his energy is filled up, what will it be like? Did the Sun Wukong rush out from the golden cudgel? Or should I say, I can completely fuse with the power of the Sun Wukong? Wow! Long Fei swallowed his saliva. It could be said that this was even more enticing than a peerless beauty taking off her clothes. Regardless of that power, this daddy will definitely feel great. Ha ha! I'm really looking forward to it. Long Fei hated that he couldn't completely fill the golden cudgel's energy. It's just that what he needed was ancient spiritual treasure, S. He could not use Berserk, so he could only go kill the monsters or search for them himself. If he could use his Berserk energy to explode, Long Fei would quickly explode. After the 3 seconds of possession was over, the pressure in the auction place disappeared. Many people took deep breaths as they finally regained their senses. The heavenly spirit in the crowd looked at Long Fei, who was standing on the stage, and muttered, "Seems like the boss has a personality." At this moment, Long Fei walked to Chiu-Ho's side and coldly asked, "Elder Chiu, shouldn't you give me my 250,000 Xian crystal?" Chapter 1243. Have the powers in your body awakened? Chapter 1243. Have the powers in your body awakened? Chiu-Ho was already scared witless. What young master of martial prowess mansion could casually crush him? Now, even his father, master of martial prowess mansion, was killed by a bat. Just how strong was this Long Fei? No wonder the master Tsang Long called him brother. Now, Chiu-Ho finally understood why Long Fei could get his hands on the diamond invitation card. Of course. In fact, he had no idea why. Looking at Long Fei's devouring eyes, she said weakly, I can't take out that many Xian crystal. The corner of Long Fei's mouth rose as he coldly laughed. You can't take it out? I don't care if you can take it out or not. If you can't, then use your life to pay for it. 250,000 Xian crystal. Who could take it out at once? Long Fei was very clear that Chiu-Ho could not take it out, but in the beginning he was so arrogant and ridiculed her. But As long as he could not bring out Long Fei, he would not let him go. Chiu Ho's body trembled even more violently as he said, "Master, 250,000. I really don't have that many." "Sure, there's not that much that can be paid with your life." The golden cudgel in Long Fei's hand pointed, pointing at Chiu Ho's face. Chiu Ho's face turned white. He immediately looked at Chu Chongkong in the private box and said, "Elder Chu, I was wrong. I shouldn't have gone against you. Please help me. Master Tsang Long, please plead for me. I really can't take out that many Xian crystal." He kowtowed continuously. Since the master of martial prowess mansion was already dead, how could he be a match for Long Fei? He admitted defeat before the match even began. Chu Chongkong also did not expect that Long Fei would actually be able to unleash such a powerful force. He was extremely shocked in his heart, and at the same time, incomparably excited. Not just him. Master Tsang Long was the same, both shocked and excited. "Good boy. I really couldn't tell, as expected. He's extraordinary, a super genius. Hell Gate-S of the Hell Gate are truly not simple." At the same time, the people of the Hell Gate, the people of the Bounty Gate, and the people of the Thousand Alliance sect all had drastic changes in their expressions. If it was them, they too would not have been able to resist the power that Long Fei had unleashed. That kind of power was too terrifying. Long Fei's strength had exceeded their expectations. At the same time, they were secretly glad that they didn't act in advance. Otherwise, they wouldn't even know how they died. Long Fei reassessed his strength. If they didn't take action against Long Fei today, they would have to reconsider. Chu Chongkong looked at Chiu Ho, who was begging for mercy, coldly laughed, and said, "Earlier, it was you who pretended to be cool with the bet, to come here to plead for mercy?" "Elder Chiu, what do you think we are?" Master Tsang Long immediately shouted, "If you can't take out the money, then use your life to pay for it. This is already considered cheap, but with your lowly life, how can you resist 250,000 Xian crystal?" Chiu Ho's face turned white and said, "Elder Chu, since we are all elders of Xiao Yao Business Alliance, please beg for me." A 250,000 Xian crystal would really kill him if they couldn't take it out. At this moment, a man walked out from behind the auction stage. He was roughly the same as an ordinary person, with no aura fluctuations coming from his body. He walked out from behind the scenes and lightly said, "I'll take out his 250,000 Xian crystal." The auction will continue. As if he was his savior, Chiu Ho turned and looked at the man, her face darkening as she kneeled on the ground. "President!" Chu Chongkong's face also changed. Many people in the auction were secretly shocked. Even the Xiao Yao president is here. It seems that this auction is not normal. Is it for that volume question of God? The volume question of God is the ultimate item. I heard that this item can be entered into the tower question of God. That's a godlike place. I heard that the tower question of God is a huge power, one that stands above any power in the chaos realm. Only those who have the divine potential can enter. Once you enter the tower question of God, that would be equal to half of the super geniuses entering the divinity. Volume question of God is the admission ticket for tower question of God, but whether or not we can enter the tower question of God is unknown. The volume question of God and the tower question of God were continuously together. However, as for what kind of existence these tower question of God were, no one could say for sure. Someone was a heavenly God tower, and as long as one entered, they would be able to reach the God realm. Some people said it was a treasure vault, and that it was the chaos realm's endless spirit treasure trove. Some people even said that he was a tower of hell. A lot of legends. Without question, the tower question of God was the most mysterious secret of the chaos realm. The appearance of the volume question of God indeed attracted a lot of competition from the powerhouse, but it was not enough to attract the president of the Xiao Yao Business Alliance. Long Fei's expression changed slightly. He could see that the man in front of him was not simple and smiled. Since someone is willing to pay, then your little life will be saved. However, I want it right away. Xiao Yao president smiled faintly and said, "No problem. Follow me. I will give you the 250,000 Xian crystal." Finished. Xiao Yao president looked coldly at Qiu Ho. It was this ice-cold gaze that caused Qiu Ho's heart to tremble. This I was punishing him with a death sentence. A disciple of the Hell Gate left the auction, a disciple of the Bounty Gate, and a disciple of the Myriad Alliance sect also quietly left. It was just that, a quarter of an hour later. When these people came back, they gave the same answer. Keep moving. He had to get rid of Long Fei, because the appearance of the Xiao Yao president made them even more worried. If Long Fei obtained the volume question of God, once Long Fei truly enters the tower question of God, they would lose their last chance. Moreover, the power that Long Fei had revealed today was proof that his powers had awakened. Even if they had not completely awakened, they were still quickly awakening. Too dangerous. In another place, Li Yuanba and the others were also nervously working in secret to steal the volume question of God. With the scroll in their hands, they would be able to sell it at an astonishing price. That way, they would have the capital to search for their boss anywhere in Chaos Realm. Amongst the crowd, the celestial spirit was in high spirits. He waited patiently as he muttered to himself, "Let's start quickly, let's start quickly, hee." They did not think too much about Long Fei's appearance just now. Right now, all they wanted was to steal the volume question of God and sell it. All 8 of them had the same thought, because they had been waiting in Chaos Realm for a whole 3 years, and after waiting for these 3 years, they had already lost some of their patience. As long as they succeeded this time, they could leave this place and go to every corner of Chaos Realm to find their boss. For this purpose, they could ignore everything else. It can loosen up their blood and strengthen the blood vein. It can be said to be a rare treasure. Yang Wanu was secretly shocked and thought, "I never thought that there would actually be a spirit grass like the 7-star herba in this world. If I could buy it, I wonder if my daughter's illness." A daughter was everything to him. If he could cure Yang Yu's injuries, even if he had to sacrifice his life, definitely wouldn't even bat an eye. Yang Wanu wanted to bid. However, when he heard the rising prices outside, he stopped and gritted his teeth. He could not take out that many Xian crystal. The bidding outside was too intense. 800 Xian crystal. 8,000 Xian crystal. 1,800 Xian crystal. Do you know the value of this legendary spirit grass? I bid 3,000 Xian crystal. The price continued to rise. Chu Chongkong stroked his beard and said slightly, "I didn't think that there would be so many people fighting over the 7-star herba's legendary spirit grass. Putting all these aside, this spirit grass possesses a great amount of power. It can be directly consumed without being refined. Its power is a sharp weapon for the blood vein, just like how humans develop once again. This kind of power is irreplaceable. If this pill is successfully refined, then the effects of this elixir will be extremely strong." Master Tsang Long and Chu Chongkong casually chatted. Yang Wanu's face became more and more anxious. The price had already reached a point where he could not accept it. Even if he sold himself, he would not be able to take out that much money. However, he continued staring at the auction. The thoughts in his mind were the same as the thoughts in the sky spirit. No matter who obtains it, he would snatch it with one word. At this moment, The same thought crossed the sky spirit's mind. Damn, a tiny spirit grass could actually be robbed by so many people. It must be valuable. Hee hee. Since it is seen by me, it is mine. The elixir let out a cold laugh. Fat Men Chen said in a low voice, Tianling, why have you become like boss? Say it's yours when you see something good. The sky spirit grinned. Of course. He's the boss, so of course we have to learn from him. Huh. Fat Men Chen laughed. So boss is the biggest bandit leader. Ha ha. Aoya's eyes turned cold as she glared at Chen Tianfei. Fat Men Chen was suddenly like a frosted eggplant, not daring to move an inch. 30,000 Xian, crystal going once. Is there anything higher? Is there anything higher? The price of a spirit grass that was auctioned was thousands of times higher than those spirit pellets. This kind of difference also made the situation with the spirit pellets more depressing, and Chiu Ho, who was backstage, sneered in his heart, Chu Chongkong, you're too useless. I still have a chance. Wait and see how I'll crush you. Chiu Ho did not die. He calmed down, and his hatred rose to the skies. Chapter 1246. Old Lord Taishang's Alchemy Again. Chapter 1246. Old Lord Taishang's Alchemy Again. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Laughter broke out in the auction hall. Be easy to meet in the future? That's not the day. Can you see it? The face of the young valley master of the Heaven's End Valley sunk, and the two old men beside him immediately stood up, staring at Long Fei with killing intent. It was also at this time Chu Chongkong and Master Tsang Long walked out at the same time and became cautious. Young Valley Master's expression sank and said, This spirit grass is of great use to me. I hope. Don't hope. Impossible. Long Fei said, resolutely, he must get this spirit grass, and Yang Yu's mission should be completed in less than 2 months. If he missed this opportunity, he might not be able to complete the mission. Failure of the mission was a small matter. The most important thing was Yang Yu's sickness could not always be maintained by the destiny pill, right? Thus, he was determined to win. The young Valley Master's expression became even more unsightly. He clenched his teeth and said, 51,000 pills. If you fight with me again, I will definitely not let you out of this auction house. Master Tsang Long became angry and said, What big words you have there. Was the Heaven's End Valley that amazing? Do you think that you are invincible just because you can concoct some poison pills? Brat, why don't you see what kind of place this is? Who dares to behave so atrociously here? Whoever dares to touch my little brother will be ripped off, no matter what the cost of this old man is. Very arrogant. The young Valley Master was not afraid and said coldly, Tsang Long, you have to figure out what kind of place this is. This is the Lian Yu Castle, and the distance from here to my Heaven's End Valley is only a few thousand kilometers. You have to consider whether or not you are qualified to do so. The Azure Dragon was enraged. Long Fei stopped him and said, Why are you wasting your breath on him? 60,000 Xian crystal. Just this number alone was enough to slap the young Valley Master in the face. There was a cracking sound and an incomparable amount of pain. Long Fei sneered and said, Keep shouting. Cluck, cluck, cluck. The young Valley Master's expression suddenly changed. The 60,000 Xian crystal had already exceeded his budget, and there was no way for him to raise the price any further. Young Valley Master stared at Long Fei and said, All right, you just wait and see. Pauper, stop acting cool if you don't have any money. Just let me wait and see, all right? Look at what? Look at a poor guy like you increasing the price by only 1,000 Xian crystal? Long Fei laughed disdainfully. You damned gay man. Uff, The anger of the young valley master couldn't hold it in, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. He was so angry that he vomited blood. Clang! 60,000 Xian crystal. Deal! Following that, Long Fei took out a purple diamond card and handed it over. Soon, the 7-star herba came into Long Fei's hands. At this moment, Long Fei walked into the private box with a flip of his body, as if nothing had happened. The heavenly spirit stared at the room and muttered to himself, "Although you are similar to our boss, you are not our boss after all, so the gun should be stolen." Big Sister Aoya, watch him closely. The purple diamond card on his body is an incredible treasure. Oya lightly nodded again and didn't say anything. Who? Long Fei exhaled a breath of air, and the boulder in his heart finally dropped. 7-star herba has finally arrived. Yang Wana looked at Long Fei and said, "Long Fei, what is your 7-star herba trying to do?" In the beginning, even if 7-star herba did not obtain it, Long Fei did not dare to say it out loud. But now that 7-star herba had gotten his hands on Long Fei, there was no need for him to hide anything. As soon as he finished, Yang Yu was completely dumbfounded as she looked at Long Fei with trembling eyes. In that instant, her tears started to uncontrollably drip down, and she was unable to say a single word. Yang Wana was also shocked. His body sank down, and he was about to kneel down. Long Fei supported Yang Wanu and said, "Uncle Yang, what is the meaning of this?" Song Long and Chu Changkong were also stunned. They all knew Yang Wanu's identity, and it had only been a month or two since they first met him. Yet, Long Fei did not hesitate to offend the Heaven's End Valley, and did not hesitate to spend 60,000 Xian crystal to bid for the 7-star herba. How many such people existed in this world? Both of them were secretly touched. Yang Yu saved me when I was still in Water City. I can only save her now to repay her, Long Fei said slightly, then looked at Yang Yu and said, "Everyone has the right to own the martial arts training. It's just that your power has arrived a little late, but don't worry, as long as you work hard, you will definitely be able to become an exceptional powerhouse." When Long Fei was in God's martial continent, he was also a trash that could not cultivate due to the broken pubes. He could understand Yang Yu's feelings. Following that, Long Fei said slightly, "Big Brother Chu, Big Brother Tsang, the two of you protect me. I want to refine some medicinal pellets." The Azure Dragon was startled. "Are you here with alchemy?" Chu Changkong said, "The auction still has a few hidden rooms. How about—" Long Fei said, "No need to go through all that trouble. Just a minute will be enough." The Azure Dragon's expression changed again. 1 minute. 1 minute was simply impossible to refine the 7-star herba, this kind of legendary spirit grass. The higher level the spirit grass, the harder it was to refine. The Azure Dragon could not believe it. Chu Changkong also looked at Long Fei, dumbstruck. Long Fei took out his pill furnace. Then, the idea moved and roared in her heart, possession of Old Lord Taishang. Buzz. A stream of power activated from Long Fei's body, and immediately afterwards, Long Fei immediately felt a burst of aura from Old Lord Taishang, the ancestor of the alchemy. What legendary spirit grass? What was hard to refine? That depends on who. Who is Old Lord Taishang? He was someone who knew how to refine elixir for the Jade Emperor in the Heavenly Court. A mere 7-star herba? It wasn't a big deal. Long Fei said too much within a single minute. Only a few seconds were needed. Old Lord Taishang's power was completely released from Long Fei's body. Long Fei did not dare to easily waste a second. The idea moved and quickly refined it. 7-star herba, spirit communication blood, and a few other high-ranked spirit grass. Upon seeing all these, the Azure Dragon was even more shocked. It's impossible to even refine these spirit grass in a minute. How could it even form a pill? However, he was not finished. The pill furnace rotated crazily, and the spirit grass inside, in an instant, fused with the spirit blood. Old Lord Taishang unleashed a powerful force, causing the golden light to flow into the pill furnace. This kind of possession power could not be seen by outsiders. Long Fei also did his best. Drip, drip, drip. 3 seconds passed. 1. The furnace stopped working, and the flames released by Long Fei's holy source also disappeared. Old Lord Taishang's power slowly disappeared from Long Fei's body. The time taken for the alchemy to appear was too precious. Long Fei had no choice but to cherish it. The Azure Dragon looked at Long Fei like a fool and asked full of suspicion, "Success?" Everyone in the room was shocked as they looked at Long Fei. Long Fei's mouth curved upwards, opened the lid of the pill furnace, and smiled. Guess. Chapter 1247, Blue Dragon. Chapter 1247, Blue Dragon Fast. Too fast. So fast that it caught people off guard, making them unable to react in time. Was this the speed of his alchemy? A second shot. The entire Chaos Realm did not have such speed. No one could refine a teleportation-level spirit grass in a few seconds, let alone form a pill within a few seconds. It was simply a fantasy story, something impossible. However, the moment Long Fei opened the lid, the Azure Dragon immediately rushed up. Looking at the small golden pellet inside the furnace, he was completely dumbstruck. Chu Changkong also instantly rushed forward, following that with a look of bewilderment. Young Wanu saw that the spirit pills in the furnace were also the same. Zhang Xian was dumbfounded. He was completely dumbfounded. The 3 faces were still dumbfounded. Niu Dashin moved closer to take a look, and with an excited grin, he laughed. "Boss, you're too awesome?" "Ha ha! Others can only refine 1 pellet of alchemy at a time, yet you can refine 5 pellets just by eating it." "Huh!" Long Fei was startled. He did not know that he had managed to refine a few pills. Looking at the 5 pills in the furnace, he was just like a 5 golden egg, lying quietly on the ground. At this moment, Long Fei was also a little dumbstruck. He was extremely shocked and thought to himself, "Old Lord Taishang is Old Lord Taishang. He's too awesome. Damn it, what am I going to learn about alchemy technique in the future? Just think of a way for Old Lord Taishang to possess it forever." "That's right. I, your father, am truly a genius." He was training the alchemy technique too low. Thinking about this, Long Fei started to say, if the alchemy technique can be used by Old Lord Taishang, then what about the refining techniques? And the engraving formation? What about the spirit communication technique? Wow, why do I feel such a sense of blissfulness rushing over? I can't even block it. Ha ha ha. I want to create a batch of supporting occupations. Long Fei was ecstatic, just as he thought. Since alchemy could be used on Old Lord Taishang, then naturally they could be used on super powerful beings. This was the same principle, and it all depended on one's luck now. Plop! Just when Long Fei was about to say something, Master Tsang Long couldn't control his knees at all and directly kneeled down. "Brother Long." "No, no, no. Master Long, please accept me as your disciple." He was going crazy. He felt that he had refined all the pills, he had refined his life into dogs. What is called alchemy? He finally understood it today. His previous methods of alchemy compared to Long Fei's were like throwing everything away by 9 days. If he took it out, it would only embarrass himself. What mastered Tsang Long, what Sanglan Emperor's chief alchemist. This was simply dog shit. The 3 seconds earlier had been too devastating for the Azure Dragon. Long Fei said, "There are 4 more here." "Uncle Yang, you give me 1. "Niu Dashin, you have been unable to fully unleash the power of your blood vein. Big Brother Chu, Big Brother Tsang, one for each of you. Long Fei was not stingy at all. This kind of pill could strengthen blood vein and raise one's level, but it was useless against his devourer's vein. So he had used the suck star over China to sense the surroundings. The blood vein did not boil, which meant that the pill was useless to Long Fei himself. Everyone in the room was stunned. The price of the 7-star herba can be sold for 60,000 Xian crystal, and the price of this pill is at least 600,000 Xian crystal. We cannot afford to pay such an expensive price. Long Fei, you must keep it for yourself. Boss, I don't need it. The moment they spoke, buzz, buzz, buzz. The red light on Yang Yu's body blossomed, rising bit by bit until it eventually formed numerous powerful forces that rushed out, causing the entire auction ground to shake. A string of forces burst out from the room. Everyone looked over. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Long Fei's gaze tensed up and became worried. Will there be any problems? Tsang Long laughed excitedly and said, the power of this pill is too strong. Nothing will happen to her. Her physique can completely endure it, and your psychic blood seems to be an ancient blood vein. If this kind of blood vein's power is integrated into it, her power will undergo a strong transformation. We'll see. She's going to change. Chapter 1248, Wings of an Angel. Chapter 1248, Wings of an Angel. What happened? What happened to that room? What are the bursts of red light? What a powerful aura of a blood vein. Countless people looked towards the private room. Fat men, Chen said softly, do you want to take advantage of this chaos? Everyone in the hall had their attention focused on the private room. If they were to make a move now, they would definitely be caught off guard. The heavenly spirit immediately shook his head. Our target is the volume question of God. Now that the volume question of God has not come out, don't act rashly. Tianfei slightly nodded and said, all right. The people of Hell Gate, Bounty Gate, and the 10,000 Alliance sect were also tense, not knowing what was happening in the private box. They were also wondering if they should make a move. However, in the end, just like the Sky Spirit, they did not move. Chu Changkong walked out and ordered heavily, no one is allowed to approach this room. Those who disobey, kill. Everyone was shocked again. At this time, the elite guards of the Xiao Yao Business Alliance surrounded the private room. There was even a moon guarding it. This kind of scene shocked everyone present. What happened? Why do I feel a demonic aura growing inside? Bursts of red light. This is the gushing of the blood veins power. Could it be that the 7-star herba that I bought just now was swallowed? They were all wondering what had happened. The auction came to a halt. This made Xiao very unhappy. It was almost too late for the pill auction, so he was naturally displeased with the sudden turn of events. Xiao shouted coldly. Chu Changkong, what the hell are you doing? Chu Changkong sneered and said, Xiao, what am I doing? I don't need to report to you, right? It's better if you think about how you're going to explain it to the guild leader after the auction. Xiao laughed coldly. The one who needs to be accountable is you, right? Take a look at this year's spirit elixir auction. Other than that spirit grass, is there any other elixirs that are willing to sell for more than 10,000? The Xiao Yao Business Alliance spent so many resources on you. It's not to let you waste them. The price of these pills are still not enough. And that master Tsang Long, you guys didn't plot to take the resources from him, right? Qiuho seemed to have revived. This auction was his last chance. As long as he could afford to pay a huge price, he would have a chance at survival. Chu Changkong's face sank and said coldly, Qiuho, don't be anxious. He did not mention that the elixir was also in the auction. However, what Qiuho said was also true. This year's spirit pellet auction had no special characteristics. It was a completely new concept. There was even no price for it. it could be said that the spirit pellet auction had lost a lot. The scene caused countless people to feel envious and jealous. Long Fei was also shocked by the sudden hug, but then his mind was a little dirty, and he was thinking about something completely different. F***ck her. Wouldn't she be a sunbird? This. Can't I, Su Xian? Do you think I can become a sunbird? It was a complete mess. Yang Yu threw himself into Long Fei's embrace and said continuously, "Thank you, thank you, thank you." Long Fei lightly patted her back and said, "Stop crying. There are a lot of people watching." Yang Yu hugged Long Fei tightly. I don't care, I just want to hug you, and I'm about to cry." He had a small temper. This was even more enviable. Chiu Ho coldly snorted, then shouted out loudly, "Chu Chongkong, do you still want to auction your medicinal pellet? Don't waste our time." Long Fei turned his head to the side and looked at Chu Chongkong. "Big brother Chu, which Chiu Ho is it now?" Chu Chongkong's heart was also full of fury as he said, "Brother Long, can I take this elixir out for auction? I'm very upset right now." Long Fei shrugged his shoulders and said, "Of course you can. The pills are yours. You can decide for yourself. In addition, I'm not in a good mood too. This kind of person must be slapped mercilessly to the point where he doesn't even recognize his mother." Chapter 1249. The Bidding of Super Powerhouse. Chapter 1249. The bidding of Super Powerhouse. The last batch of elixirs will be auctioned off. At this moment, Chu Chongkong immediately injured the stage and let the auctioneer go down, saying, "I am Chu Chongkong. I have been preparing for this elixir auction. There aren't many new pills this year. Sorry to disappoint. However, this year there will be 2 types of pellets that will be suppressed. Once these 2 pellets are announced, it will cause a sensation in the entire chaos realm and in the alchemy realm." At this moment, Chiu Ho contemptuously said, "It even caused a sensation in the primal chaos realm and the alchemy realm. Why didn't you blow it a little and directly caused a sensation in the 9th heaven so great that even the gods in the sky would tremble?" Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Many people laughed. This year's elixir auction was indeed not good enough. Compared to the previous years, there was a huge disparity. Many people had come here for the elixir, but none of them had taken a fancy to the elixir. Chu Chongkong slightly smiled and said, "I was indeed being conservative just now, and this pellet is indeed able to shock the 9 heavens to the point that even my god would tremble." Chiu Ho laughed again. "Elder Chu, didn't you notice that there was an ox flying above your head?" Ha ha ha. He blew it. Who are you trying to coax? With this kind of pill, I'm afraid you would have already taken it out, right? The Azure Dragon hasn't even produced a new pill this year. These pills are all from the previous auctions. Do you think we're stupid? Chu Chongkong, stop boasting about the pellets, and cause a sensation in the chaos realm and alchemy realm. You can just make me tremble a little. Ha ha ha. Many people began to laugh. Chu Chongkong did not flare up, because just as Long Fei had said, some people were only shameless. If you did not give him a slap, he would forever be cocky. At this moment, Chu Chongkong moved slightly and took out a golden pellet from his bosom. He carefully placed it on the auction platform. This pellet's name is... Suddenly, he thought about how this medicinal pill didn't have a name. His gaze could not help but look at Xiang Longfei. Long Fei was also thinking about the name of the pill. Chiu Ho loudly mocked, "A pellet that cannot even be called by its name? Elder Chu, you really know how to brag. This is the first time I see you being so bragging after being together with you for so many years." The anger in Chu Chongkong's heart burned more and more violently. Long Fei was also extremely unhappy. He should have given Chiu Ho a fierce slap just now, and he remembered the process of Yang Yu's transformation just now. From a mortal to a holy angel, soul formation. Long Fei transmitted his voice to Chu Changkong. God disappear powder. Chu Changkong's heart trembled. He was completely shocked by this name, and only the word spirit transformation was worthy of this pellet. With a heavy voice, he said, "This pellet is a God disappear powder." Effects. Simply put, it's 100,000 times stronger than the 7-star herba. To put it more bluntly, the lady in the room just now used the God disappear powder and directly cultivated the blood vein to the level of release outside. Chu Changkong said slightly, "The starting price is 100,000 Xian crystal. Every bid should not be less than 5,000. The auction begins now." With that, the entire auction venue fell silent. They all looked at Chu Changkong in a daze. They were all suspecting that such a miraculous pill existed in this world. A single pill could allow a blood vein to reach the realm of discharge. This was simply impossible. Chu Changkong did not explain any further and quietly stood there. Chiu Ho was startled at first, but then laughed out loud and said, "Elder Chu, are you stupid? Is there such a pill in the world? Do you take us for fools? The starting price is 100,000 Xian crystal. Have you gone mad with longing for money?" Many people were discussing. Everyone was suspicious. It was impossible for a pellet to possess such a mystical power. The blood vein inherent skill was similar to the martial arts training. S realm, where one had to continuously cultivate in order to slowly increase it, rising all the way to the exposed realm at once. This was simply impossible. At this moment, Xiao Yao President walked out onto the stage. Chu Changkong slightly bowed and said, "I'll be troubling you, President." Xiao Yao President was expressionless as he walked to the side of the God disappear powder. Half a second later, his expression suddenly changed and he became agitated. He burst with energy, his eyes flashing as he said, This pill. Everyone was looking at him. Xiao Yao President took a deep breath and said, "With all my wealth, resources, and head, Xiao Yao Business Alliance will guarantee that this pellet will not be weaker than what Elder Chu said." As soon as he finished, Chiu Ho's expression shook. She felt Chu Changkong slapped him hard. She took a step forward and said, "President, could it be that you've gotten it wrong?" Not waiting for him to finish, Xiao Yao President had already landed in front of Chiu Ho, staring at him with gloomy eyes. He said coldly, "I do not know how to cherish this chance I gave you. Seems like there is no use in keeping your life." Immediately, his strength surged as a powerful pressure gushed down from the sky. Crack! Chiu Ho didn't have time to react. He was squashed to the ground and kneeled, blood flowing out of his 7 orifices. He was dead. The entire audience was stunned. Long Fei was secretly shocked. What a strong power! With just the idea's aura alone, he was able to instantly kill Chiu Ho, who was in the Sun rank. The appearance of the God disappear powder was a powerful propaganda. The effects of this pellet would show that the auction of the elixir would soon reach a climax. The wild god smiled faintly and said, "It's best if it's as you say, otherwise I will smash your carefree auction into pieces." At this moment, Wild God's face changed. Buzz. A red light flashed from within his body, and a strong aura of power instantly burst forth. Wild God immediately sat cross-legged, and the red light spread out in waves. Very thick. What happened? It's the same red light as before. It can't be that the blood vein can really release its power, right? Isn't this pill too magical? A few seconds. Rumble! The sound of an ancient mammoth trampling sounded out, causing the entire auction venue to shake. Kunlunzi and Goddess Goldenflower's eyes shook. Their expressions were not good, and from their eyes, one could tell that they were regretting it. This should not be done with God Disappear Powder S, because they could feel that the power of the wild god was increasing rapidly, especially the power within the blood vein. It was increasing continuously, as if it was giving off its second spring. Another few seconds passed. Rumble! With a loud bang, a powerful ancient mammoth appeared on Wild God's body. Release the blood vein. It's really releasing the blood vein. This is unbelievable. Breaking through in just a few seconds. What kind of pill is this? Buzz. The aura on Wild God's body suddenly shrank under his own control. At this time, the blood veins' innate talent had increased too much, so he needed more time. This was also when he was at his weakest. If anyone attacked him, he would be finished. He had to be careful. He retracted his aura and suddenly said, "How many of these pills do you have in your Xiao Yao business alliance? The reason why I am willing to buy another one for 5 million Xian crystal." With that, the entire audience was shaken. Kunlunzi said slightly, "Brother Huanggu, looks like you've broken through." Goddess Goldflower also said calmly, "Congratulations, Brother Huanggu." Wild God laughed out wildly and said, "Ha ha, I finally know what is meant by the power released by the blood vein. Strong, too strong." "What's the name of this pill?" Chu Chongkong replied, "God Disappear Powder." The Wild God said, "The God Disappear Powder's medicinal properties are just like its name, transforming into miracles. The mortal enters the spirit, and the true gods will, the God Disappear Powder." He was very excited. He had never thought that a single pill could bring such a great power. He felt that with his current strength, he could advance a few more ranks of Emperor List. Wild God looked at Kunlunzi and Goddess Goldenflower and laughed. Kunlunzi laughed. "It doesn't matter. As long as you remember what you said just now, the Elixir S are not to be robbed from us." "Huh." Wild God was stunned for a moment and said, "Did I say that just now?" As soon as he finished, Kunlunzi's face suddenly changed, his eyes staring straight at Wild God. "You can't be shameless, right? There are so many people in Wild God who heard it. You can't be so shameless, right? Who heard you?" Wild God's gaze swept across them, and then looked at the man beside him, and asked, "Did you hear that?" The man hesitated for half a second, and it was also at this moment the Wild God's idea moved, and the man's head exploded. The Wild God asked again, "Who heard it?" The entire audience was silent, not even daring to breathe. It crushed everything in its path. What is the powerhouse? This is the powerhouse. With a single sentence, nobody would dare to move, not even to breathe heavily. "If you dare to speak, just kill him." Goddess Goldenflower stared at Wild God and asked, "Wild God, what are you planning to do?" Wild God said, "I don't want to do anything. I just want to compete fairly. Just now, you guys were unable to defeat me, so I still want the next elixir. It was incomparably domineering. However, prove this from him. The God Disappear Powder was powerful, but that elixir was even more powerful." Chapter 1251, Weapons Grandmaster Possession. Chapter 1251, Weapons Grandmaster Possession. Wild God sat down. He closed his eyes and rested his mind. The other powerhouse, S, also sat down and waited. Tianling, there seems to be even stronger pills." "That's right, the pellets auctioned off by the 3 million ebony crystal are not the best. There is still an even stronger pellet." The sky spirit frowned. Chun Tianfei asked in a low voice, "Should we change our plans and not snatch the volume question of God? Or should we snatch the elixir?" The fact that this elixir did not appear on the auctions list means that it's something added at the end. This kind of thing must be very special, very powerful. How about we? Everyone in the volume question of God knew. However, only a few powerhouse knew of the elixir's ranking. and they had come for it. The price of this elixir could be imagined. Tian Ling furrowed her brows. After half a minute of silence, she finally said, "All right, change the plan. Seize that medicinal pill." The sky spirit immediately said, "Oya, inform them that there's a change in the plan." Ao you didn't have any expression on her face. She just nodded her head slightly. After a few seconds, she said lightly, "Yes, they've all agreed." The sky spirit looked at Aoya in shock. Aoya said slightly, "Don't worry, no one will be able to hear my sound transmission, not even those God Disappear powder-s that were bidding just now." Fat Mention muttered, "So powerful." Once the peak powerhouse used a large amount of power, they would be able to hear the idea's sound transmission. However, no one could hear Aoya's idea sound transmission. This was because her voice transmission speed was the sword spirit's voice transmission. Chu Chongkong slightly said, "The next item is the spirit treasure auction." Then he walked down the auction platform while carrying the 3 million ebony crystal. He returned to the private room anxiously, his face filled with excitement, but his voice was still trembling slightly. 3 million ebony crystal. 3 million ebony crystal. "Oh my God!" The Azure Dragon said, "The value of God Disappear powder-s, however, is worth it." Nyo Dashin, on the other hand, had a stupefied look on his face as he moved his fingers to calculate. 1 Xian crystal is equal to 100,000 profound stones. 1 profound stone can buy 10,000 cows, 30,000 sheep, and more than 10 wives. How many cattle can a 3 million ebony crystal buy, and how many sheep, and how many wives can one marry? "I'm rich. I'm really rich." He had a silly look on his face. Chu Chongkong handed the black card over to Long Fei and said, "Thank you." He let out a vicious breath. He gave Chio Ho a fierce slap, and Chio Ho was also crushed by the president. All of this was because Long Fei gave him the chance. Otherwise, he would have to take it. He had wanted to slap Chio Ho a long time ago. Now it had come true. His heart was filled with gratitude. Long Fei replied, "The pills are yours, so the money is yours too." Chu Chongkong said, "Brother Long, I can't take even a single cent of the money. Take it yourself. You can buy whatever you want." Sun Long also followed up. "Master, take the money first and see if there's anything you need." Chu Chongkong said, "That's right. A 3 million Xian crystal is qualified to compete with the volume question of God." Long Fei could not refuse them, and said, "All right, after this auction, I will return all the excess money to you." Speaking of which, Long Fei really had a lot of things to buy. He needed all the ancient spiritual artifact. There was also a secret manual for the 9-yang divine technique, which was something he needed as well. The auction continued. However, some items of the spirit treasure grade were only average. There was nothing special about them. At this time, Long Fei also had another important matter, and that was to cure Yang Yu's illness. After completing the mission, he would be able to obtain 2 special items as rewards. The idea moved. Submit the mission. Ding! Congratulations, player. Long Fei for completing Healing Yang Yu. You have received 1 million experience, 50,000 holy source points, 3 levels increase in alchemy technique, and 2 special items. Ding! Do you want to open this special item? Humph! Long Fei became a little excited and thought, "Demacia, it's time to test my luck. Activate." Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining 1 double experience card. Long Fei was a little unhappy in his heart. A mission that cost me a few months was rewarded with a double the amount of experience points? What the F*** K are you doing? A second notification rang out. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Weapon Master's Possession attributes. Long Fei's heart trembled. Damn, Weapons Master's Possession Attribute. Attributes. Weapon Master Possession Time. 5 minutes description. Able to forge super divine weapons, able to strengthen transforming decay into magic. Holy *T. Long Fei roared out in excitement. His face flushed red, then said in excitement, I knew it! I knew it! With old Lord Taishang's alchemy. He must be a super powerful master refiner. Then he must have a super powerful inscription master, a spirit channeling master. Ha 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 ha! Your father is invincible. Long Fei wished that he could immediately strengthen the Xiao Luo machete. However, the weapon master only had 5 minutes of possession. He and old Lord Taishang's time were both incomparably precious, and Long Fei did not have any materials to strengthen himself either. No rush, no rush. Long Fei was overjoyed in his heart. At this moment, a voice resounded from the stage. Below is the auction for the secret technique, 9 Young Divine Technique. The starting price is 300 Xian crystal, and each bid cannot be lower than 30 of them. At this moment, young Valley Master of Heaven's End Valley suddenly stood up and said, 500 Xian crystal. The moment his voice fell, many people who wanted to bid gave up. No one was willing to offend the heavenly End Valley. 9 Young Divine Technique. Long Fei's expression recovered. He walked to the window and said, 100,000 Xian crystal. Young Valley Master of the Heavens End Valley raised his eyes and stared straight at Long Fei, so angry that smoke rose from his head. Long Fei said in disdain, What are you looking at? Pauper, if you want to buy, then bid. Hurry up, if you can't afford it, scram to the side. To come to an auction without money, this is a place for rich people to play. It's not suitable for you. I think you're just here to be a rogue. Without waiting for Long Fei to finish speaking, young Valley Master spat out another mouthful of blood. This time, half of the blood on his head was gone. He looked to be heavily injured. 100,000 Xian crystal going once. 100,000 Xian crystal going twice. 100,000 Xian crystal going thrice. Deal. In the dark, Fat Men Chen stared at Long Fei, who was in the private box's window, and muttered, This brat is so arrogant. Do you want to take him out on the way? The corners of the sky spirit's lips curled up as she laughed excitedly. I also have the same idea. Long Fei secretly shook on the windowsill. Niu Dashan asked, Boss, what's wrong? Long Fei shook his head and said, Nothing. I just feel a chill behind my back, as if someone was plotting against me. Chapter 1252, 7-Level Energy. Chapter 1252, 7-Level Energy. Having money is easy. The 9 Young Divine Technique was easily acquired. With the secret technique in hand, Long Fei placed it into the space ring, and it moved. Cultivate. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for cultivating the secret technique, 9 Young Divine Technique, for obtaining 100 experience, 100 holy source points, and 100 special rewards. Cultivation method, 9 Young Divine Technique rank, God of Secret Techniques attributes. Inner Chi description, the 9 Young Divine Technique has a total of 9 layers. Each layer is filled with power, allowing one to use the pure yang force to transform into a powerful attack. Regardless of whether it was good or bad, Long Fei wanted to learn it because it was a martial arts technique from a novel on Earth. As a transcender from Earth, Long Fei had to take this martial arts technique, even though the actual content of this technique was very different from the training methods on Earth, but he still took it down. Earth. What a distant thing. Long Fei muttered in his heart, and then thought disdainfully in his heart, Oh my ass, how nice is it to miss Earth? I am making a name for myself, to have brothers and sisters, to have girls, to have money. How great is that? Then the auction continued. Long Fei did not leave the window. He continued to look through the system to look at the items being auctioned. 300,000 Xian crystal. This boss bids 300,000 Xian crystal. Are there any higher bidders? 300,000 Xian crystal going once. 300,000 Xian crystal going twice. 300,000 Xian crystal. Long Fei slightly raised his hand and said, 400,000. Everyone looked at Xiang Longfei. The middle-aged man's eyes were filled with rage as he fiercely retorted, Do you even know how to use this weapon? You understand this weapon? I don't understand. Long Fei shrugged and said, But so what? Lousy has money. Continue bidding if you don't like it. The middle-aged man was so angry by Long Fei that his face turned pale. 300,000 Xian crystal were already his limit. 400,000 going once. 400,000 going twice. Deal. Long Fei once again took down a double-edged weapon. Chu Chongkong said, Brother Long, what are you buying this for? These two hooks are pretty good, but they don't suit you at all. There's no use in buying them. And Chu Chongkong said slightly, If you spend all of these Xian crystal, what would you use to bid for them? 3 million Xian crystal. Chu Chongkong gave a huge amount of wealth to Long Fei. Actually, before he returned to the private box, Xiao Yao president had already sent a sound transmission to him, asking him to give the 3 million ebony crystal to Long Fei, so that he would have the money to bid for the volume Question of God. Even if Xiao Yao president didn't say it, Chu Chongkong would. But seeing how extravagant Long Fei was buying a few things at a high price that he did not need, he started to worry if he continued to buy, Long Fei would not have the money to compete for the volume Question of God. Long Fei smiled faintly and said, Who said I wanted to buy volume Question of God? I didn't think about it. And Long Fei took the two hooks and returned it into the space ring. Then the idea moved, Fill with energy. Ding. Energy filled. Current energy level, 4. The business of buying a set of ancient spiritual treasure with 400,000 gold was profitable. Was there anything more profitable than this? A single ancient spiritual artifact was enough to raise the strength of a golden cudgel by 1 level, a mere 400,000 Xian crystal. What could be more profitable than this? At least, Long Fei didn't think of this at the moment. However, in the entire auction, probably only he could tell if the item being auctioned was an ancient spiritual treasure or not with a single glance. Regarding the things that he needed, Long Fei was never stingy. In addition, as for the volume Question of God, Long Fei smiled mysteriously and said, If I don't have the money, I can steal it. Chu Chongkong was slightly taken aback. Long Fei patted Chu Chongkong's shoulder and laughed. It's a joke, don't be nervous. 3 million ebony crystal buying volume Question of God. This was almost impossible. There was only one way to obtain it. Fight for it. Therefore, Long Fei had been preparing the entire time. The reason why the energy levels of the golden cudgel were constantly being filled was because it would take a little more time to release Sun Wukong possession, let alone 3 seconds, for at least 3 minutes. If that was the case, for the Sun Wukong to cause such a ruckus in the Heavenly Palace, it was no surprise that he would make an auction. At that time, who could stop him? Blast whatever you want. As item after item was auctioned off, Long Fei made 3 consecutive moves, the most desperate bid being up to 1 million Xian crystal. He had 3 ancient spiritual treasures. The energy filling up of the golden cudgel was also raised to the 7th level. Or was it unable to activate the 2nd stage of the golden cudgel's power? How much energy was needed? Long Fei simply did not know. Maybe 10, maybe 100 levels. After all, it was a main artifact. After the 3 items were auctioned, Long Fei did not have a single item on him. Big Brother Tsang, by your 50,000 Xian crystal. After the elixir is finished auctioning, I'll return it to you, Long Fei said somewhat embarrassedly. Song Long immediately said, Master, you are being too formal. Do you still want more? With my status, I can even overdraw 100,000 Xian crystal in Xiao Yao Business Alliance. If you want. Long Fei waved his hand and said, No need. There are still a few things that I have read and do not fit me. Right now, we're just waiting for the volume question of God to be the first to reach the top. At this moment, Chu Chongkong's brows shook, and he said lightly, I'm going out for a while. It was also at this time when the auction was at its most tense, because at this time it was unknown when the two old men from Xiao Yao Business Alliance were standing on the auction stage. Some powerhouse-s could tell at a glance that these two elders were the super powerhouse-s on the emperor list. The main show is here. The finale is here. Volume question of God. At this moment, almost everyone stretched their necks to look at the auction stage. The host said with a faint smile, I believe you all know about it already. Not bad. The next item up for auction is this auction's most valuable treasure, the volume question of God. There are many legends about the volume question of God. Some people said that it is a warrior's way to heaven. Some people say that it is the path to God. In short, this is a great treasure that can change fate. Next, take out the volume question of God. Two staff members walked up with a heavy box. Then, they slowly opened it. Inside, there was something that looked like a roll of parchment paper. His entire body was emitting a strange purple light. Long Fei was startled. What an awesome thing! At this moment, Chu Chongkong walked into the private box once again, took out a black card, and handed it over to Long Fei, saying, This is the elixir S fees that the president has given you in advance. 6 million Xian crystal. Long Fei looked at Chu Chongkong and did not receive it immediately. Instead, he asked, Why does Xiao Yao president wish so much for me to obtain the volume question of God? He's that confident that I can pass the tower question of God's test. Chu Chongkong said, The president said, This is your only path. You have to take him down. Chapter 1253. Not purchased. Chapter 1253. Not purchased the only way? Hee. Long Fei laughed. Since you all will be so enthusiastic, then I can only accept this favor. I will take the money. He didn't want the money for nothing. Moreover, this was still his own money, the money that the elixir had advanced. Long Fei naturally would not refuse. With regards to the volume question of God, he did not want to fight. Resisting what the Xiao Yao president said from the bottom of his heart, the volume question of God was his only path. The starting price for the volume question of God is 500,000 Xian crystal. Each bid must not be less than 100,000 Xian crystal. The auction begins now. As soon as he finished, a few nobles in front of him immediately called out a price. 700,000 Xian crystal. 800,000. 1 million. The price kept climbing higher and higher. Not even half a minute later, it was already 2 million, and it was still stacking up. Many people had come for the volume question of God. One of the windows in the private room suddenly opened, and an elder walked out. My young master bids 3 million ebony crystal. One of the people in the opposing room could not help but say, My young master is bidding 3,500,000 Xian crystal. 3,800,000 Xian crystal. At this moment, the voices from below the stage gradually lessened. Not many people could call out their bids. It was a competition between the various rooms. These people were all being led by people to bid and did not reveal their identities. This was also for the sake of a better cover-up. Nyo Dashan asked slightly, Boss, are we still not bidding? Long Fei said, there's no rush. Let them have enough first before we bid. So be it. I bid 5 million Xian crystal. You want to snatch it from me? You two are worthy of that. Humph! A stern voice sounded from the room, and once the 5 million Xian crystal came out, the entire auction place fell silent. Just as Xiao Yao president had expected, the price of this volume Question of God was estimated to be 5 million. Long Fei's 6 million Xian crystal was definitely going to be taken down. As long as you can capture the volume Question of God, I have my instructions to your father. Xiao Yao president said to himself, volume Question of God, tower Question of God. Once you are absorbed by the tower Question of God, Hell Gate will not be able to touch you, and you will be safe. Xiao Yao president said sincerely and sincerely. Who else? Who still wants to fight with Lousy? Why don't you take a piss and try to steal from me? Humph. Continue to bid. The youth in room number 1 said arrogantly. At this moment, Long Fei slightly said, 6 million Xian crystal. The youth was startled. He immediately looked at Long Fei, who was outside the window. His gaze tensed up as he said, Brat, you dare to fight with me? Long Fei said, stop talking nonsense. If you can afford it, you can pay. If you can't, then give up. I don't have time to waste with you. You... Humph. The young master was furious and said, 6,100,000 Xian crystal. Kid, continue being arrogant. Not waiting for him to finish. Long Fei said casually, 7 million Xian crystal. There was no time for him to react at all. The youngster's eyes darkened and his teeth chattered. He rushed out of the room and shouted, You little brat, are you really going to fight with me for it? He was utterly enraged. His appearance shocked many people, and the sign on his chest made more people shudder. People of the God's Mountain Gate. It seems, and he's even a junior master of a God's Mountain Gate. I heard that the God's Mountain Gate is as rich as a nation. Even if you add up the wealth of the Tsanglan Emperor, it still wouldn't be worth the wealth of the God's Mountain Gate. This is still not where the God's Mountain Gate is powerful. What is truly powerful about them is their strength. The God's Mountain Gate possesses 3 Emperor List S. No wonder it's room number 1. Its identity is indeed extraordinary. Long Fei shrugged his shoulders and said with a face full of satisfaction, I have no choice. I have no place to spend money. Are you unhappy? If you're not satisfied, continue bidding. He did not care about God's Mountain Gate. Long Fei's way of doing things was based on his mood. Chu Chongkong frowned and reminded him in a low voice, Brother Long, our funds. 6 million Xian crystal was already their limit. It was impossible for him to take out any more money. The God's Mountain Gate of the God's Mountain Gate heavily shouted, All right, I will bid 7,500,000 Xian crystal. As soon as he finished, Long Fei immediately revealed a pleased smile and said, All right, you win. You. Very clearly, the God's Mountain Gate had been tricked. However, God's Mountain Gate of the God's Mountain Gate still revealed a complacent and incomparably wild look and said, You want to fight with me? Humph, you think you're worthy? Brat, who do you think you are? You think winning against the master of martial prowess mansion is so amazing. You think too much of yourself. In my eyes, you're not even fart. He taunted her ruthlessly. Long Fei laughed and said, Not worthy, not worthy. Of course not. Inwardly, he laughed. You'll know soon enough whether I'm worthy or not. At this moment, Niu Dashin disappeared from the private box. Inside God's Mountain Gate's private room. Clang! A teacup was smashed into pieces. Damn it! He actually made me spend an additional 2,500,000 Xian crystal. This piece of trash, I definitely can't let him go. Junior Master was exceptionally angry. 2,500,000 Xian crystal. That was not a small number. An old man spoke out. Young Master, the amount of 7,500,000 has already exceeded the range of our advance. I'm afraid that the sect leader will punish us if we return this time. Cluck, cluck. It's all because of that brat. I definitely won't let him live in this world. The auction is over. Kill. Yes, sir. During the volume question of God's auction, those super powerhouse like Kunlun Zi, Goddess Golden Flower, and the others didn't even look up. Not at all. Because they knew clearly that the volume question of God had nothing to do with them. The tower question of God only took in warriors from the younger generation, so it did not care about them, these old monsters that had cultivated for hundreds of years, at all. Sigh. The volume question of God. I'm afraid there will be another powerhouse. I wonder who this volume question of God is for. Why are you worrying about this now? The crowd slowly got up, all wanting to leave the arena. The most important treasure was the volume question of God. After the filming was done, it was naturally time for the competition to end. At this moment, seeing that everyone was about to leave, the sky spirit became nervous. Chun Tianfei did the same, and said softly, "The auction won't end just like that, right? Didn't they say that there was another elixir? Is it a lie? If it ended, then their plan would be a failure. If that was the case, then everything would be for naught." Chun Tianfei sighed. "If I had known this would happen, I would have snatched the volume question of God." At this moment, a host walked up to the stage and said, "Today's auction will be the finale of the finale. 100 years old life essence." Chapter 1254, 8 King Kong Attacks. Chapter 1254, 8 King Kong Attacks. As soon as he finished, the entire venue shook. Everyone was stunned. What's 100 years of life essence? Life essence? Is there such a pill? How come I've never heard of it? What is a life essence? Wild God's eyes flashed with a trace of light. The eyes of Kunlun Zi, Goddess Golden Flower, and the few powerhouse S in the dark also shone with a similar light. At this moment, the sky spirit let out a long breath, looked at Oya, and said, "Let them go through with the plan." Oya nodded slightly. On the auction platform, the host said indifferently, 100 years of life essence, just like the name implies. It is a pill that increases lifespan by 100 years. A martial artist has a limit to their lifespan. If they cannot break it, then their lifespan will be restricted by the law and they will die of old age, turning into a pile of dirt. This pill can extend your lifespan by 100 years. This is to borrow my life from the heavens. What can 100 years bring? What can 100 years change? Time is life. You might even be able to fly up and break through within 100 years, or you might even be able to obtain a fortuitous encounter, have a heaven-defying breakthrough, and might even be able to enter the divinity. As long as it doesn't die, as long as it lives, it can make everything impossible. The first life essence in the history of the Chaos Realm, and the only one so far. Say that again. Don't doubt the attributes of this pellet. Since our Xiao Yao Business Alliance is willing to take it out for auction, it would be proof of the attributes of the pellet. This 100-year-old life essence was also created by the supreme expert who refined the God Disappear powder just now. Finished, the host said, "Bring out the 100-year-old life essence." The two of them carefully carried it up. The two of them had a huge difference in stature. They were nearly 3 meters tall, had a tall and sturdy build, and their muscles bulged. Furthermore, there was a large thing wrapped around his back. The other person was thinner, which formed a huge contrast. Everyone paid attention to the elixir that they had brought up and did not take an extra glance at them. The two of them kept their heads down, so their appearances could not be seen. Long Fei only glanced at them slightly. It only felt a little familiar, but he did not think much about it. How could he possibly think that Li Yuanba and Arhut were standing on the stage? Never dreamed of it. The host's expression was stunned, because it was different from the staff member who was carrying the volume question of God just now. He did not think too much, and now the main event was the elixir auction. Once the pill appeared, many people widened their eyes as they looked over. It looked similar to the God Disappear powder from before, but the golden light was thicker. It was obvious that this elixir was of a higher level. The host said calmly, "The starting bid is 1,000,000 Xian crystal. The bid increase must not be less than 500,000. Let's begin now." It had to be said that the host was very emotional and grasped many people's weaknesses. 100 years of life. There are too many things it can change. Everyone in the auction venue was stunned. Their minds could not come back to reality. Was there such a pill in this world? Was it really possible to refine such a heaven-defying life essence? Sang Long said excitedly, "Let's stir up a commotion. Chaos realm, alchemy realm." Ha ha ha. Incomparable excitement. After tomorrow, the entire chaos realm would tremble because of this. Many reclusive powerhouses would probably not be able to hold back because 100 years of time was too precious. Just when many people were still in shock, Kunlunzi was the first to shout out the bid. 3,000,000 ebony crystal. The voice was agitated. This pill was too important to him. He only had a few years left, and if he couldn't make any more breakthroughs, he would only run out of lifespan and become a pile of dirt. Anyone who faced death would show great struggle. Wild God smiled slightly and said, "Kunlunzi, don't be too excited. I bid 4,000,000 Xian crystal." Kunlunzi's eyes were filled with anger, and he bellowed, "Wild God, you are too despicable." Wild God sneered and said, "Despicable? This is just an excuse for the weak." Goddess Goldflower called out a price, 5,000,000 Xian crystal. A powerhouse called out the price, 5,500,000 Xian crystal. In just a few seconds, the price had skyrocketed to 5,000,000 Xian crystal. It was hard to imagine, and many people were stunned. Chen Tianfei muttered, "Do we do it?" The man shook his head and said, "It's not time yet. Let's wait a little longer." Chen Tianfei rubbed his hands together, feeling impatient. At this moment, the assassins of the Hell Gate, the assassins of the Bounty Gate, and the people of the Thousand Alliance sect were all quietly moving. Many of them disappeared from the spectator stands and walked towards Long Fei's box. They were all waiting for orders. As long as they gave the order, they would immediately act. "I bid 6,000,000 Xian crystal. 7,000,000 Xian crystal." "Wild God, do you have to fight with me for it?" "Ha ha ha. Kunlunzi, are you saying that you want to steal it from me?" "Brother Karakoram, if you don't have the money, then forget it." Ha ha ha. Many people began to laugh. Kunlunzi said solemnly, "I offer 8,000,000 Xian crystal." Goddess Golden Flower was slightly surprised for a moment before she gave up the auction. Wild God's expression also slightly changed as he said, "Fight with all your might. Seems like you have to obtain this life essence. From this, you can see that your brother Kunlun's lifespan is running out. Since it's like this, then I should have gotten it even more. 9,000,000 Xian crystal." The crowd was shocked. It's a total of 9,000,000 Xian crystal. It's a new record for the Xiao Yao Business Alliance auction. Amazing. This is too terrifying. The people from the VIP box all walked out. Compared to these superpower house, they were too weak, so weak that they couldn't even withstand a single blow. They didn't even have the chance to bid. Kunlunzi gnashed his teeth, so hard that they almost broke, and said with a heavy voice, I bid 10 million Xian crystal. Rumble! 10 million. His mind was greatly shaken. Wild God revealed a cold smile. 10 million Xian crystal? Kunlunzi, can you take it out? Do you have that much money? Do you think just shouting is enough? At this moment, the host said slightly, if you can't afford that much money, you can use time to make up for it. In other words, you have to serve Xiao Yao Business Alliance for a few years. As a slave, Wild God's expression changed slightly. At this moment, Kunlunzi said straightforwardly, I'm willing to be a slave for 10 years plus the 10 million Xian crystal. Wild God, keep bidding. He was really risking his life. The atmosphere in the entire auction hall reached its peak. The two Emperor List S fought with each other and directly threw their lives on the line. Everyone was focused on the two of them. Finally, Wild God said solemnly, Kunlunzi, you are ruthless. He gave up. The host said, 10 million Xian crystal, and one slave every 10 years. 10 million Xian crystal plus 10 years as the second slave. 10 million Xian crystal, and 3 times slaves in 10 years. At this moment, the sky spirit looked at Aoya. Aoya's sword spirit idea moved, saying, do it. Chapter 12, 55. 2 forearms like a god. Chapter 12, 55. 2 forearms like a god. Attack. Attack. Almost at the same time, everyone in the bounty gate gave their orders. Bam! The door to the room was kicked away, and a black shadow struck out with his sword. Long Fei's face tensed up and instantly rushed into the private box. At the same time, on the stage, Li Yuanba's huge clothes were immediately burst apart by the strong muscles on his body, revealing the appearance of a real face. In his hands was a giant spirit axe, and on his back was a huge coffin. The giant spirit axe in his hand suddenly swept. Clang! He directly destroyed the box that was holding the elixir, and with one hand he snatched the elixir and laughed tyrannically, It's done. Everything happened too quickly. The speed was unimaginably fast. Long Fei just happened to miss this scene. He clenched his fists and exclaimed, Beautiful! The auctioneer on the stage had a sinister look on his face as he shouted, You dare to steal Xiao Yao Business Alliance. I think you guys are tired of living. You won't cry until you see the coffin. Where is the group of guards? Li Yuanba laughed foolishly. I won't cry even if I see the coffin. Xiao Yao Business Alliance's elites rushed out from the two sides. At this moment, boom, boom, boom. Spirit water soul art. As the water particles entered the guards' bodies, they began to shrink. In an instant, their bodies began to crumble to the ground. They were all on the verge of death. With just a single sleigh, dozens of Xiao Yao Business Alliance's elites were unable to climb up. Extremely powerful. In another area, the venerable dragon's body was being swept in all directions. A beam of golden light was like a giant dragon, directly overturning all the elites in the other area. Arhut King Kong, dragon subduing Doyen. Ha ha ha. Kill us. Dream on. Arhut laughed proudly. It was also at this moment that Arhut took a step forward. With a flip of his right hand, the Vajra subduing wand in his hand trembled on the ground. Rumble! The host was knocked onto the ground. Arhut shouted and said, Yuanba, let's go! Li Yuanba waved his giant spirit axe and carried it on his shoulder. He laughed excitedly. It's very simple. What Xiao Yao Business Alliance? They're just SOSO. Lin Yushen and Xiaolong rushed forward. The 4 of them stood on the auction stage, looking at the nearby heavenly spirit. All 8 of them were extremely excited. With elixir in their hands, it meant that they had succeeded. As long as they rushed out of the auction house, it wouldn't be long before this elixir could be sold for millions of Xian crystal. At that time, they would have enough money to go wherever they wanted, and they wouldn't have to be trapped in the Lian Yu Castle's territory anymore. Let's go! Li Yuanba released the divine power from his body and immediately shouted out. At this moment, Xiao Yao President was not in a rush to take action. What he was concerned with right now was not elixir, but Long Fei. The people from Hell Gate made their move first. There are a lot of people at the auction between the Bounty Gate and the Myriad Alliance sect. Guild leader, Xiao Yao President frowned. An elder rushed in and said, President, the elixir is about to be snatched away. Cluck, cluck. Xiao Yao President took a deep breath out and said, Long Fei, I'm sorry. I can't let the Xiao Yao family take the risk for you. Long Fei was the son of his close friend. He did everything he could to help him, but the consequence of helping him was that his family was in danger. He had to think about the big picture. Moreover, the volume question of God was not in Long Fei's hands. This was the biggest problem. If the volume question of God was in Long Fei's hands, then it would be different. Xiao Yao President made a decision and shouted, Stop those 4 people and snatch the elixir back. Yes, sir. President, the auction is already in chaos. I'm worried that Wild God, Goddess Golden Flower, and a few other powerhouse will take advantage of the chaos. Once that elixir is in their hands, I'm afraid we'll. Xiao Yao President shouted loudly, This is the Xiao Yao Business Alliance. If they dare to do such a thing, I will let them know how powerful the Xiao Yao Business Alliance is. The energy emitted from Xiao Yao President's body was extremely thick. He was enraged. In the auction, the 4 of them quickly rushed to the exit. Suddenly, Li Yuanba suddenly stopped, and the giant spirit axe on his shoulder dropped. Wang! Arhut said, Why aren't you leaving? Li Yuanba looked at the man in front of him and said, You guys go first, I'll stop him. As soon as he finished, the giant spirit axe in his hands landed on the ground and slashed the ground as he charged forward. The godly power throughout his body was surging, giving off a red glow as though it was about to explode from anger. The man smirked and said, No one can steal things from the Xiao Yao Business Alliance. He also instantly went forward to meet it head-on. However, Li Yuanba suddenly leaped up, holding onto his axe with both of his hands. He slashed towards the man's head. We are an exception. Boom. It hacked down heavily, but the man sneered with disdain. His figure suddenly disappeared, and a cold laugh sounded out in the air. Trash. The axe missed. The man's figure completely disappeared. Trash. It was also at this moment that the figure of another Li Yuanba appeared in the sky. Rumble! Rumble! With a single strike of the axe, that man was immediately split into 2 halves. His body fell from the sky, blood spurting out all over the floor. Li Yuanba took a step forward, and with a stomp on that person's head, he laughed foolishly. Who is the trash? As he spoke, the figure in the sky slowly descended, superimposing on his body. At this time, Li Yuanba had 2 heads and 4 arms. It had the appearance of a god, awesome to the point of being a complete mess. 2 heads, 4 arms, 1 body completely superimposed on his. That's not the point. The key was that his body could be separated. Many people in the surrounding area were dumbfounded by what they saw. Arhut grinned and said, Abnormal. Li Yuanba laughed foolishly. Do you want to make something even more abnormal for you to see? Ha ha ha. Lin Yusheng said, We cannot stay here any longer. Let's go. The one who died just now was just a guard commander of the Xiao Yao Business Alliance. It should be known that the Xiao Yao Business Alliance had sent out many powerhouses this time, and there was even a super powerhouse on an emperor list. In addition, Wild God, Goddess Golden Flower, Kunlun Z, and a few other super powerhouse were sitting in their seats motionlessly, not panicking at all. Their eyes were fixated on Li Yuanba and the other three. They were waiting. As long as Li Yuanba rushed out of the auction, then everything that happened outside the auction had nothing to do with the Xiao Yao Business Alliance. In other words, they could make a move now. Apart from them, there were many others who remained seated. Junior Master, let's leave quickly. What's the rush? A good show has just started. And the God's Mountain Gate S looked at Xiang Longfei's private box and continuously released heavy explosive sounds. What exactly happened? Chapter 1256, Mad. Chapter 1256, Mad. Continue walking. The giant axe in Li Yuanba's hand was once again hoisted onto his shoulder as he innocently said, "Those who block our path will die." He was as mighty as an Empyrean god as he charged forward frantically. They were getting closer to the exit. At this moment, Buzz, be careful! An extremely strong force of thunder came crashing down. Too fast, too fierce. This power, it was definitely the super powerhouse on the Emperor list. At this moment, Fat Man Chen shouted. Following that, he sprung up like a ball of meat. Both his palms started circulating, and with a speed of 4 times combined, he struck out. Buzz. An extremely strong defensive force spread out from the top of Li Yuanba's head. Rumble. Chun Tianfei's body sank, and the defensive power of the divine armor burst out strongly. Backfire. He threw out a burst of defensive power, just like a bouncing bed. He suddenly launched a counterattack. Rumble. Bang. The air exploded, and an elder landed in front of them. His expression changed slightly as he stared at Fat Man Chun. The corners of his eyes turned sinister, and he was overwhelmed with shock. Such speed, such strong defense. The wild god did not mind as he watched the show and laughed. "Dule, do you want me to make a move? From the looks of it, you can't even beat this fatty." Boom, boom, boom. With 3 consecutive sounds, 3 figures landed on the ground. One of them said coldly, "I won't bother you about the matters at Xiao Yao Business Alliance. If there's nothing else, you can leave. Free and unrestrained child." The 27th Emperor list. 16 places higher than me. Wild God's gaze turned cold. Goddess Golden Flower's expression changed slightly as she laughed. "Seems like Xiao Yao Business Alliance has made enough equipment this time." Kunlun Z said, "I just want to know whether or not today's auction will end soon." Xiao Yao president walked out and said, "Of course you can count. Kunlun Z, the elixir is still yours, but before that, I hope you all can sit there quietly." Kunlun Z smiled lightly and said, "Since Xiao Yao president has already said so, then I am relieved. Don't worry. No one can move against the person here. Whoever wants to attack that elixir will be going against me. I will mercilessly kill him." Kunlun Z stared at Wild God and said slowly. Wild God's face darkened. At this moment, Li Yuanba became annoyed and said, "It's as if you guys can snatch the elixir back. What Emperor List Yellow Dog leaderboard? How dare you block our way? I will turn all of you into dead dogs." Li Yuanba swept his gaze across the 4 of them. The 4 of them had extraordinary cultivations, an extremely strong realm, but when the 8 of them came to Chaos Realm, they had never met an opponent that made them serious. Fat Man Chen stood in the middle and said softly, "When the 4 of you attack, I will be in charge of defense." "Then what are we waiting for?" F***CK. Li Yuanba took the lead, staring at a sturdy man who was the first to rush forward. The giant spirit axe in his hand shook, and a ray of white light flashed out from the axe blade, chopping down at him. Giant spirit god, / Boom, boom, boom. The battle axe shadows were everywhere. The burly man's eyes widened as he shouted, "Get down!" Both of his fists exploded, and the power that exploded from his body caused his clothes to burst apart. With a flip of his hands, 2 bronze hammers fell into his hands, and he similarly attacked ferociously. However, the aura of the burly man turned into a formidable pressure that crushed forward. Boom! Li Yuanba's sea of consciousness shook. He slowed down a bit. His face turned sinister. "Damn it!" Qin Tianfei shouted. "Don't worry!" Buzz! A wave of defensive power landed on Li Yuanba's body. The pressure on Li Yuanba's body directly shattered, and he took the opportunity to slash down. Let's see who will get down. Giant Spirit God. The runes on the coffin flashed with light, and a burst of energy linked Li Yuanba's body, causing the runes on both of his arms to glow, and he held the giant spirit axe with both of his hands. At this moment, the giant spirit axe suddenly changed. Boom! The axe, which was originally just a normal size, suddenly became thicker, larger, and 100 times larger. The tall and sturdy man's face sank. He was caught off guard by the sudden upheaval as the 2 hammers collided against each other. Rumble! Crack! The 2 hammers broke and power burst out. The burly man's body sank, and a thick layer of light formed a shield. However, even with that shield, his body still bent down, and he laid on the ground. He was forced to the ground by the powerful force. Who's down? Huh. Li Yuanba raised the giant spirit axe above his shoulders and domineeringly stood in front of the man, looking down on him. At the same time, other than Lin Yusheng being heavily injured by the free and unrestrained child's one move, Chun Tianfei's defense was not blocked in time. Wild God stared at Li Yuanba, and the others, a light flashed past his eyes, his mind filled with suspicions. When did this group of abnormal youths appear? This is too surprising. They were also shocked by Li Yuanba's power. He couldn't figure it out at all. However, they did not think that Li Yuanba and the rest would be able to leave the auction house, because just the fact that he was a free and unrestrained child was enough to crush all 5 of them. The powerhouse on top of Emperor List were far from having this kind of strength. Back off. The free and unrestrained child snorted. His eyes turned sinister as he locked onto Li Yuanba, and then his chi suddenly disappeared. Be careful! Li Yuanba was an impatient one. The battle plan had not been confirmed yet, but he had already rushed out, roared out, and said, "Then what are we waiting for? Get rid of him!" Bang, bang, bang. He charged out like a rapidly charging tank. Tian Ling's heart tightened and said, "Yuanba, be careful." After the celestial souls had shrunk, Descending Dragon, Black Knife, Lin Yusheng, 8 King Kong was all impulsive. The wild god narrowed his eyes slightly and said indifferently, "I heard that the Xiaoyao president was ranked 6th in terms of profound strength with such a high ranking. However, I have never heard that he made a move. I would like to see him today." Without waiting for Wild God to finish, with one hand, Xiaoyao president turned the sky upside down, power exploding out from his right palm and forming a huge energy web. This net of power directly covered everything. Chun Tianfei suddenly shouted loudly, "Everyone, be careful!" Ao Ya's 100-sword spirits moved abruptly and charged forward. The Black Knife's black flame emperors slash. Dragon subduing's golden dragon punch. All sorts of powerful forces were released, not to mention a giant net. Even 10 giant nets would be shattered to pieces. However, this huge net did not break, and instead absorbed all of their power. The power of the giant net became even more powerful. Boom! The huge net enveloped the 8 of them in an instant. The moment his body touched the giant net, the red aura of anger on his body quickly dissipated. His power was being drained at a crazy rate. Even the giant spirit axe had returned to its normal size. Holy **T. Why do I feel a little dizzy? Not justly Yuanba. The moment the giant net came crashing down, they were all the same. Their energy rapidly weakened as a powerful force sucked them in. The stronger the power they released, the faster they would absorb it. He couldn't hold on at all. In less than 3 seconds, the 8 of them were tightly tied up. 8 King Kong, defeated in one move. Wild God's expression changed sullenly as he thought in his heart. Such powerful strength. Is this the powerhouse ranked in the top 10 of the Emperor list? I can't block it with just this hand alone. The other powerhouse had the same thoughts as the Wild God. Xiao Yunzi, who was placed 27th, was heavily injured by 8 people, but in front of Xiao Yao president, he was defeated in one move. Easy. This was the difference in strength. The rankings on the rankings, each rank and each rank were like realms. Boom, boom, boom. The huge net shrunk, trapping all 8 of them inside, causing the powerful god power on Li Yuanba's body to attack again and again. However, the stronger the power that he released, the tighter the huge net became. Xiao Yao president looked expressionless, but his palms were covered in cold sweat. He was secretly shocked in his heart. What are the origins of these people? Chapter 1258. 3 Great Bosses. Chapter 1258. 3 great bosses. The 8 of them looked at Xiao Yao president. She looked at him very seriously. Then the 8 people said at the same time, "Are you King dreaming?" And then there was Long Fei. His situation was much more dangerous than the 8 King Kongs. Hell Gate of the Hell Gate rushed into the room, and before he could even react, Yang Wanu was smashed to the ground. The Azure Dragon suddenly shouted, "Who dares to be so impudent?" Chu Chongkong took a look at the clothes worn by the powerhouse and frowned. Hell Gate people are too arrogant, aren't they? The man in the lead walked out and said, "Hell Gate has matters to attend to. Those who are not related scram." "Junior Master, how have you been?" They were here for Long Fei. The people of the Bounty Gate and the people of the 10,000 Alliance sect all rushed in and immediately surrounded Long Fei tightly. 100,000 Xian crystal as reward. Junior Master of the Infernal Realm are really something. One who offends the World Alliance sect will die. Amidst the explosive sound, among the dozens of powerhouse, each one was more ferocious than the last. Yang Yu supported his father, walked to Long Fei's side, and asked softly, "What do we do now?" Niu Dashan protected Long Fei's right side as the King Bull's blood's power surged on his body. He was currently hesitating on whether or not he should consume that God Disappear powder. Chu Chongkong frowned. He instantly made a decision and said, "Hell Gate, Bounty Gate, Myriad Alliance sect. This is the Xiao Yao Business Alliance. Aren't you looking down on the Xiao Yao Business Alliance a little too much?" "Ha ha! Let me be more direct." The old man from the Hell Gate sneered and said, "You really don't put the Xiao Yao Business Alliance in your eyes. You better stand at the side and wait patiently. That way, nothing will happen to you." The Azure Dragon roared, "You all are too." The Hell Gate from the Hell Gate said again, "Tsonglong, as long as you don't come with us, we will still not put the Tsonglong Emperor behind you in our eyes." Tsonglong's face darkened. It was extremely ugly. The corner of Long Fei's mouth raised slightly and said, "Did you all come under Zhan Wushuang's orders? Or the rest of the Hell Gate?" The man from the Hell Gate sneered, "That's none of your business. All in all, you must die today." Long Fei said, "Since I'm going to die, then can you let me die to understand?" I just want to know who has been wanting to kill me all this time, who sealed my memories, who held me as a slave. There were many questions in Long Fei's heart. He wanted to know what the memories of this body were. He also wanted to know what kind of power was hidden in this body. So why was it that many people were asking him if he had awakened his power? Just what kind of power was this? Hellgate from the Hellgate smiled confidently. Seems like you are already prepared to die. That's fine too. I'll let you understand. This operation is young Master Wushuang's order. As for your memories, why did you become a slave? This was arranged by Zhan Clan. All right, you already know what you want to know. Now, you can continue on your way. Long Fei's heart trembled. He secretly clenched his fists. Zhan Wushuang, 9 secret warrior family. Cluck, cluck, cluck. The joints exploded. Thinking about that scene in the Yuanyang clan, thinking about Zhan Wushuang's lofty and unparalleled expression, and thinking about Xianyuan Li Er's tears, the rage in Long Fei's heart became ferocious and couldn't be retracted at all. Long Fei shouted out loudly, "It's time to let you all on your way." At this moment, Niu Dashan made a choice as well and swallowed the God Disappear powder, whole, then roared out, F***CK that. You are courting death. The Hell Gate moved his body and struck Xiang Longfei with his palm, shouting, "With your current strength, you don't even have the qualifications to die at the hands of young Master Wushuang." His strength was like a mountain as it surged forth. Long Fei's cultivation was at the 7th level of the spirit stage. His left hand moved to intercept the attack, and the mountain-splitting knife at his right hand moved to slash down with the power of the 4 blood blades of blood war. Suck star over China. When the 2 palms met, Long Fei's arm shook and almost broke. The difference in levels was too great. Long Fei simply could not endure it. In that instant, he released the suck star over China, forcefully stabilized his body, and sucked everything in. The 2 palms connected. The strong devouring force was frantically devouring the Hellgate's power. That person's expression changed as he shouted, "Bastard, let go of me!" Without waiting for him to react, the energy absorbed by his left hand was immediately channeled into his right hand. The mountain-splitting knife flashed with a bloody light as it chopped down with its blade. It directly landed on the head of Hellgate. Power explosion. Blood spurted out from the top of his head like a column. He pulled out his blade and slashed horizontally, directly cutting off the powerhouse's head. With a roar, he shouted, "Die!" Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Hellgate Disciple for obtaining 34,000 experience, Holy Source points, 1,800 energy values, 10 points. Congratulations, player. The system's voice faded. The people of Hellgate reacted, and all of them killed Xiang Longfei. At this moment, Niu Dashan's body was releasing a red light. His powerful body was enveloped by it. His entire being was as though he was in a state of blood anger. Moreover, 2 30-centimeter horns sprouted from his forehead. The power in his body became abnormally violent. The Hellgates rushed forward, and Niu Dashan stepped forward to block them. He shouted loudly and said, "Let me." Zhang Xian's body sank, and he charged forward, knocking his head forward. Bang, 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 bang. A Hellgate was knocked over. The Bounty Gate's gaze turned cold as he said, "Let's make our move." Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Asterisk, the Hellgates of the Hellgate made their move. The angel blood vein inside Yang Yu's body surged, and the pair of wings on his back suddenly shot out. Wings that were harder than steel, fiercely swept out. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Asterisk feathers like steel needles shot out one after another. Everyone from Bounty Gate was nailed to the wall one by one as they screamed in unbearable pain. The experts of the Alliance rushed forward. Niu Dashan and Yang Yu moved at the same time, once again sending everyone flying. Two great protectors, awesome to the point of overpowering the heavens. Nyo Dashin's body and power, the angel wings. They turned all the killers in the room upside down. At this moment, Long Fei did not waste a second. He rushed forward and slashed with his blade, one slash at a time. The knife was killing him. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Bounty Gate Disciple for obtaining 20,000 experience, 1,000 holy source, and 10 energy values. Ding! Congratulations, player. Ding! The system beep S did not stop. It felt great. At this time, when Chu Chongkong rushed to the window to call for people, he realized that the auction platform was in a mess and said, "The elixir has been robbed." It was also at this time. A thick wave of energy came crushing down from outside the room. Without giving Long Fei the slightest chance to react, he erupted with power and dashed forward. Rumble! Long Fei was immediately flung out of the private box's entrance, directly falling out of the window and into the auction grounds. It was also at this time 8 King Kong, who was tied up, looked over in unison. Chapter 1259, Boss. Chapter 1259, Boss. There was no time to react. Long Fei was flung outwards, his chest split open, blood flowing out. He could not endure it any longer and spat out a mouthful of blood, feeling terrible. Lying in the rubble of his seat, he stared at the box. At this moment, a few people who did not leave the auction house all looked at Long Fei. Some people sneered. Some people were watching the show with interest. From room number 1, God's Mountain Gate began to loudly laugh. Ha ha. Trash, you actually have such a day? Ha ha ha. His laughter was exceptionally excited. Long Fei did not pay any attention to him. He crawled up from the ground and prepared to charge forward again. At this moment, bam, bang, 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 several consecutive explosions rang, and Yang Yu was blasted out. Nyo Dashin was sent flying, and the Azure Dragon, Chu Chongkong, and Yang Wanu were all sent flying. One after another, they fell into the auction hall like dead people. It was unknown whether they were alive or dead. At this moment, there were 3 people standing outside the window, a person from the Hell Gate, a person from the Bounty Gate, and a person from the Myriad Alliance. The 3 of them had one thing in common. Golden light flashed. Boss. The Hell Gate stared at Long Fei with cold contempt and said, "You're not dead yet." Not far away. The space between Xiao Yao President's eyebrows tightened. Li Yuanba looked at Long Fei's back and muttered, "Who is this guy?" Sky Soul said, "He's a tycoon and a target of our robbery, but looks like he's the same as us in a bad situation." Aoya looked at Long Fei in a daze. However, Long Fei's appearance told her that she did not know this person. It was the same with the other Vajra. He didn't know the man in front of him at all. Long Fei was currently focusing all his attention on the 3 big bosses and was only thinking of how to kill them. "I never would have thought that you 3 powers would really spend such a huge amount of resources to deal with me alone," Long Fei said coldly. From this, it could be seen that the strength of the 3 of them was not low. It could be seen that the 3 major forces had never thought of letting him live. Even, they did not hesitate to join hands. The Xiao Yao president said slightly, "You 3, this is the Xiao Yao Business Alliance. You guys should give an explanation for moving my people in my territory, right? Xiao Yao president, you'd better find out who you're talking to." The old man from the Hell Gate said coldly, very wild, "So what if he's 6th on the Emperor List S?" In front of Hell Gate, it was nothing. Xiao Yao president's face slightly changed and said, "Hell Gate's people are truly arrogant, and the person who gave rewards to my Xiao Yao Business Alliance actually dares to speak in such a manner. Do you really think my Xiao Yao business alliance is so easy to bully? The old man from the Bounty Gate smiled slightly. Xiao Yao president, it's not that we don't care about you. It's just that the people from your Xiao Yao business alliance are courting death. The old man was even more direct and said, "What nonsense are you speaking? Kill that punk." And then the three of them instantly descended. It instantly descended in three different directions from Long Fei. Any one of the three people's cultivations were enough to crush Long Fei 10,000 times. Long Fei was completely not a match for him. Xiao Yao president's gaze darkened as he said in a heavy voice, "Do you still dare to kill people here?" At this moment, the old man from the Hell Gate had a sinister look in his eyes as he said coldly, "Xiao Yao president, do you want to intervene? Don't think that we don't know the relationship between you and the kid's father. We won't touch your Xiao Yao business alliance. It's not because we're afraid of you. If you anger my Hellgate, I will make sure your Carefree clan will suffer." His voice was filled with rage. Killing intent burst out. Xiao Yao president's face suddenly changed. His heart was also extremely unhappy, and he shouted, "I was just interfering. I want to see what abilities the three of you have." Boom. Strength burst forth. The strength of Emperor List, ranked 6th, was not to be underestimated. The expression on the face of the Hellgate's old man changed, and he shouted, "You are digging your own grave." The elderly man from the Bounty Gate shouted, "Xiao Yao president, you have to consider this carefully. Don't involve your Carefree tribe in this. Otherwise, your family will be doomed to never recover." Once Xiao Yao president made a move, this meant that the Xiao Yao business alliance was going to fight against the three great forces. If this was the case, the Xiao Yao family would quickly disappear from Chaos Realm. Any one of them could completely crush Xiao Yao business alliance. Xiao Yao president's fists were clenched, and tightened. He felt extremely miserable being forced into a corner. Long Fei did not want to make things difficult for the Xiao Yao president, so she said lightly, "This is a matter of me alone. Xiao Yao president, you better watch a good show from the side. Isn't it just 3 bosses? Let's see how I'll flatten you one by one." Huff. Long Fei took a deep breath. The idea connected to the golden cudgel, and said in his heart, "Monkey, how long can you exchange the energy of the 7th floor for?" It was also at this time Li Yuanba muttered, "Boss." That seems to be the boss's word. Only the General Assembly would say such words. Arhood also said, "That's right, but we have all seen him kill Master of Martial Prowess Mansion before. He is not the boss at all." Fat Men Chen also scratched his head in depression. Could the boss have changed? The Black Knife said, "It shouldn't be. It should be able to pass through heavenly tribulation and rise quickly. There should not be any changes to its appearance." The heavenly spirit looked at Xiao Yao president and said, "Hey, what is his name?" Xiao Yao president did not care about them at all. Li Yuanba bellowed, "I'm asking you something. What is this brat's name?" Xiao Yao president replied, "Hellgate's former junior master, Long Fei." As soon as he finished, Wild God, Goddess Goldenflower's eyes were filled with shock, as if she had suddenly come to a realization. It was also at this moment 8 King Kong looked as if he had been struck by lightning as he stared dumbfoundedly at Long Fei's back, completely dumbfounded. A few seconds later, Fat Men Chin shook his head. "Impossible, impossible. Could there be such a coincidence? Is that boss? Or is it someone with the same surname?" They couldn't confirm it, because the name Long Fei caused far too much shock in their hearts. Tian Ling said slightly, "It should just be a coincidence." They had asked many people about this point, so the Long Fei in front of them was not the Long Fei they were waiting for. Oya was still staring at him, her heart beating faster, faster and faster. Her expression became more and more agitated. Finally, Aoya could not hold it in and immediately shouted, "Long Fei!" Long Fei's heart trembled. What a familiar voice! Who is it? Long Fei turned his head to look at the 8 people who were suppressed by a huge net not far away, and his mind suddenly trembled as a bright light flashed in his eyes. He was stupefied. At this moment, the old man from the Hell Gate suddenly launched a sneak attack, took a step forward, and with a blast of his palms, smashed heavily into Long Fei's chest. Rumble! Long Fei flew out. Coincidentally, he crashed into a wall not far from 8 King Kong. As if he didn't feel any pain, his face filled with incomparable excitement. 8 King Kong, Li Yuanba, Arhut, Heavenly Spirit, Lin Yusheng, Chen Tianfei, Black Knife, Aoya, Descended Dragon. 8 King Kong was stunned. Li Yuanba suddenly roared out, his 3 heads and 6 arms immediately appearing. His powerful strength broke through the giant net of energy and said with a heavy voice, "Boss." Chapter 1260, Association System Activation. Chapter 1260, Association System Activation. Boss. Li Yuanba screamed fiercely and could not help but cry out. The other 7 people also looked at Long Fei. Their minds were shaken beyond compare. No one in the Chaos Realm knew their names. They had never come in contact with anyone else. They had always been waiting. He had been looking for Long Fei. Only the people of God's martial continent knew their names. But now, Long Fei could not help but shout out their names in a split second. However, Long Fei's appearance. The Heavenly Spirit asked curiously, "You really are the boss? How did you become like this?" Their appearances had changed, and they couldn't guarantee anything. Long Fei laughed excitedly, not caring about the Heavenly Spirit's question at all. "Tianling, I just brought you out of the underworld. Your mother entrusted me to take care of you. You are a Yuling guardian warrior. Arhut, I picked you up on the street. I caused you to fall into the path of demon, enchanted by hell, Buddha's heart, and become a demon fighter. Lin Yusheng, when your heavenly water force exploded in Yuling Island, your clan was massacred, and you had the mission of reviving your clan called God, Water King Kong. The first person I met when I entered the immortal domain was you, Chen Tianfei, falling down from the cliff, protected by the divine armor. And your home is the general's mansion of the God Emperor city. You are called the Holy Armor King Kong. Yes, it's Oya. Your broken sword technique was taught by me, your blade waltz was taught by me, and you are also my woman, teacher Oya, my sword force King Kong. Black Knife Uncle, Yunner is fine now. She is safe. You can rest assured. Arrogant Knife King Kong. Lastly, it is the venerable dragon subduing Doyen. You were created using the heads of the 18 principle of College of Martial Arts training, using the Arhut King Kong. Other things can be forgotten, but Long Fei would never forget these things throughout his life. 8 King Kong, his brothers of his life, were all good brothers that came here with him during the fire. At the moment he saw them, Long Fei's heart was trembling. He was so excited that he was trembling as if he was looking at a family member. Long Fei looked at Li Yuanba in the end and said, "Yuanba, your name is mine, and the giant spirit coffin on your back is mine as well. You possess the divine giant spirit blood vein in your body, and you are the first King Kong, also known as the Holy King Kong. The 8 King Kong had 8 types of attributes, a completely different kind of power. At this moment, the 8 of them no longer had any doubts. All of them were extremely excited, with tears shining in their eyes. They couldn't say what was on their minds. I knew it, ha ha ha. I knew it. I knew that your 8 King Kong wouldn't die so easily. Gu Tongtian is nothing. How could he possibly kill you? Ha ha ha. Long Fei was wild with excitement. When he heard about the 8 of them being killed, Long Fei's heart was filled with intense pain. He believed that the 8 King Kong must still be alive. Even if he was to die, he would find a chance to fight his way to hell. Li Yuanba laughed foolishly. It's really boss, it's really boss, it's really boss. It really is the boss. To be able to say all these, other than Long Fei, who else could it be? Aoya could not resist, and immediately rushed forward and pounced into Long Fei's embrace. She began to wail, "Where did you go? Where have you been all these years? I miss you. I miss you. I really miss you. I really don't want you anymore. I really don't want you anymore." Woo! It was a heartbreaking cry. Long Fei retreated slightly, pain in his chest, and endured it with great difficulty. He lightly patted Aoya's back and muttered, "I will never lose you, never again." At the same time, ding! 8 King Kong, Sword Force King Kong returns. The system sounded out. Li Yuanba walked up and looked at Long Fei as he said in a heavy tone, "Boss, we finally found you." Ding! 8 King Kong, the Holy King Kong has returned. Boss! Ding! 8 King Kong, the Yuling Guardian Warrior has returned. Ding! 8 King Kong, the God, S Water King Kong has returned. With the sound of a boss and a system announcement, the 8 King Kong returned to their positions one by one, just like the 8 war gods, returning to their original positions. All of them were extraordinarily powerful. It was a complete mess. After Kong Kim returned to his position, a system notification rang out. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for reactivating God's martial sect. Ding! Congratulations to the guild established by the player Long Fei for leveling up. Current level 2. It has been activated. The heck, it's finally activated. Ha ha ha. The God's martial sect was one of the things that Long Fei had brought from the God's martial continent into the Chaos realm, but it had initially been in the state of seal. In other words, the time to teleport Luluashi, the 10,000 dragons, and the 10,000 dead dragons was not far. How could this not make Long Fei excited? At this moment, Xiao Yao President was a little confused and thought in his heart, what is going on? Could it be that Long Fei was the mastermind behind this? But why are you snatching the elixir that you refined? That's not right. They seem to have met just a moment ago and have known each other for a long time. Furthermore, what are those things that Long Fei mentioned? Could he have been to the lower planes? These 8 people are so special. Just like him. Everyone in the auction hall was thinking about this question. The sudden recognition made them a little confused as to what was going on. Chapter 1261, Killing the 3 Bosses. Chapter 1261, Killing the 3 Bosses, very arrogant, insolent to the point of being a complete mess. If not, then he would not be Li Yuanba. Moreover, after finding Long Fei, his strength had become even more ferocious. The excitement, the power that had been suppressing his heart for 3 years, and the power within his body were suddenly unleashed at this moment. This kind of power was earth-shattering. Long Fei was completely shocked. It was also at this time. Long Fei squatted down and looked at the Bounty Gate's boss, then said, "Kill me? Continue." The powerhouse's eyes turned sinister as he said, "Long Fei, do you think you can escape? No matter what, you won't be able to escape today. You will die for sure." Without waiting for him to laugh, Long Fei's leg heavily smashed down. Crack! The head exploded, and the last bit of blood on the head disappeared. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Bounty Gate's Level 1 Elder for obtaining 81,000 EXP, 6,500 Holy Source points, and 10 Energy Values points. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining the Ancient Spiritual Artifact, Profound Essence Armor. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining. The system sounded out a few times. Did the ancient spiritual artifact pop out? All right. Absorb the golden cudgel. Ding. The energy of the main artifact has been replenished, and there is 8 levels of energy in front of me. 8 levels of energy. There are 2 other bosses. Will they drop ancient spiritual artifact as well? If that was the case, then that was just 10 layers of energy. Was 10 layers of energy a node? Will it trigger the superpower of the second stage of main artifact? Long Fei's heart was filled with anticipation as he shouted out, Motherf asterisk cur. It's my turn to touch my people. F asterisk CK those 2. As soon as Long Fei finished his sentence, the 8 of them said in unison, Understood. All of them were incomparably arrogant. The old man from the Hellgate and the old man from the 10,000 Alliance sect were stunned. The 2 of them looked at each other. And at this time, they did not choose to escape, but rushed forward at the same time. Boom, boom. His steps were like thunder as he charged forward. Flip him. Li Yuanba took the lead and swung his giant axe horizontally continuously. 2 life powerhouse flew high up into the air, and another figure of Li Yuanba slashed down from the sky. Boom, boom. The 2 were shot down. Black flame. The black, flaming blade, energy furiously slashed downwards. Boom. Sword spirit piercing heart. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Asterisk, Vajra subdues demons. Boom, boom. It's my turn. It's my turn. And I, this big fatty. Backlash divine power. The 2 of them, 8 King Kong wheel, were just killing them. The 2 of them did not even have the chance to retaliate as they smacked down like 2 flies.